CII Diagnostics. CII Diagnostics.
Ini.
SRL Diagnostics. SRL Diagnostics. SRL Diagnostics. SRL Diagnostics.
Hello. Hello.
Good morning, Dr. Gaur.
Morning, morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Good morning,
Absolutely.
Mr. Anand,
Good
Mr.
morning. Good
Morning,
Mahajan,
morning.
Anand. Dr. Gaur here.
and
How are
our
you?
guest
Good
of
morning,
honor,
Dr. Gaur.
Mr. Chaube.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good
Morning,
morning,
sir.
Namaskar,
Dr. Gaur
Chaubey ji.
here.
All of you, namaskar, namaskar, namaskar. It's very
Morning,
nice
morning,
to see
Jatin.
you
How are
after
you?
long.
Good morning, Dr. Kaur. Good morning, Mr. Anand. And good morning, Suman.
Morning, everybody. I think all set.
Okay, so we are live and we will begin the session in another 2 minutes. So we're just live right now. The people are joining from Hive platform of CII and also viewing the conference on the YouTube channel of CII.
Right.
That's nice.
Dr. Gaul, that will be how much time there will be to speak? How much time you will give me to speak in that?
Dr. Kaur,
Dr.
you're on
Gaur,
mute.
you're in mute.
Yeah, I think better. So whatever time you're comfortable, definitely almost like about 15 minutes.
Okay, good. So I will concise my text accordingly. Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Gaur, we can go live now. It's 10:30. We can start, please.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second edition of CII Diagnostics Summit with the theme Digital Diagnostics Shaping the Future of Healthcare. The summit is organized by the CII Delhi Subcommittee on Healthcare and Wellness, and I look forward to talk to all of you. And probably it's one of this second diagnostic summit for CII is organizing, and the summit will bring together various stakeholders, experts, and industry stalwarts to discuss on new horizons in the diagnostic sector with digital diagnostics at its center. I think with this, I welcome all of you to the summit. I think people who are there and a lot of people online, and I welcome everybody and everybody out there. This summit will have after this inaugural session, we'll have 2 sessions. And the first session is the role of digital diagnostic and ensuring accessibility and quality for futuristic healthcare. And the second session is on the evolving technology-driven diagnostic trends shaping the future of healthcare. I think we have esteemed panelists and we have very respected and very experienced panel members. And I'm sure all of us will gain a lot of wisdom from it. And I think I look forward to be connecting with you as we move forward today. It's my pleasure to welcome our inaugural guest of honor, Mr. Santhan Chaube, Sir, the Joint Director, Information Technology Department, Government of Delhi. Welcome, sir, and it'll be a pleasure to hear you as we move forward. Along with me, I have Anand, Mr. Anand K. He's a CEO of SRL. Anand has a vast experience of diagnostics. I think it's a long journey, and today he's leading one of the largest the diagnostic company, probably I think one of the globally largest diagnostic companies in the world. Anand is also co-chairman of the CII Delhi Subcommittee on Healthcare and Wellness. Welcome, Anand. With me also I have Mr. Jatin Mahajan. Jatin is also the managing director of J Mitra Company Private Limited, and J Mitra is one of the, again, anybody who's worked with diagnostics and healthcare, I'm sure they're well aware of J Mitra, and he's been a phenomenal work in the last, I think, that's probably more than about 3 decades. Jatin is also co-chairman of CII Delhi Subcommittee on Healthcare and Wellness. I look forward to hearing you as we move forward today. Welcome, all of you. Before I start, I think I'd like to say a few words what we're talking about, what is the digital diagnostic is, and what is digital healthcare, and where are we heading to. If you look at it, no product is made today, no person moves today, nothing is collected, analyzed, or communicated without some digital technology being an integral part of it. That itself speaks the overwhelming value of digital technology. So much we are into it today. I think every aspect of our life is touched by digital technology. Now, digital technology has changed virtually all aspects of human life, but has not yet reached its full potential in promoting and advancing human health. Healthcare has always been a conventional and time-tested. So I think, as usual, I think the digital technology is probably came but adopted much later in the healthcare. And today, of course, it is right there in every aspect of healthcare. We're trying to make use of it. Diagnostics can't be left behind. Diagnostics play a critical role in clinical decision-making and in disease control and prevention. The world of diagnostics entering into a new revolution with digital diagnostic today. The convergence of digital technologies and diagnostic tests sets the stage for advancing patient experience and better clinical outcomes. Digital technologies promise to improve diagnostics and is leading to improved quality, in fact, better quality in the remotest part of the country where there's hardly any services or infrastructure. But this all technology driven, is making accessible, affordable healthcare. Now, certain diagnostic trends enabled by digital technologies include point of care testing, emerging home diagnostic solution, predictive and personal genetics. A lot of algorithms and analytics are happening. Molecular testing, which is again probably getting more personalized. Real-time diagnosis, real-time tracking is happening. Remote service delivery. At one point of time, there was really nothing possible even to reach, but now today, by the communication and awareness is happening, and services are being delivered, even via drone. We have heard in press people are collecting samples, and I'm sure we'll have Anand talking about it. Then we have quality monitoring automation, artificial intelligence based analytical solution, electronic health records, and much more. Wherever all aspects of whether pre-analytical, analytical, or post-analytical are all being touched by the digital technologies and leading to better digitalized diagnostic services. Today, digital diagnostic has become an essential component of the healthcare ecosystem, helping to facilitate the accuracy and timeliness of the information transfer and enhance the effectiveness of decision-making processes, and also enabling the accessibility to larger seekers and improve patient management. At one point of time, we are all taught in the clinical or faculty or in our accreditation system and diagnostic lab. A missed report is a missed report. The report which is not reached in time, you might have analyzed the test, probably you miss it out, and then it is of no use. Technology is enabled to make sure that the moment that tests are performed, immediately information reaches the client, customer, patient, and it can be acted upon, and that saves a lot of lives. Digital health products too have many new avenues for improving public health. Many new health products are also in the offering. As we move forward, digital health products will become more tailored to the individual, providing more intuitive interfaces and provide better analytics of individuals' health and continue to improve their functionality while offering a more personalized experience and leading to personalized and precision medicine and target-based therapy. So this is again, the algorithms and AI, everything getting integrated together, and diagnostics playing a major central role now. And so from the sideline, they become the center hub, and everything's rounding out that. And we are getting more to more personalized and more target-based therapy, and of course, needless to say, a better clinical outcome. Digital transformation in healthcare is not just about adopting a new technology, a digital technology, but it is also about reimagining healthcare for digital age. I think we need to reimagine. We have to set up our system for the new digital age. Then what are these? The using of power of data, artificial intelligence, cloud-based platforms, and new business models to improve upon health outcome, which can lower the cost of care and improve the human care. So it's a time to set up, there's an opportunity to set up, which is really happening at a faster pace, to have a good digital infrastructure. Without that, I think nothing can work, and I think we can never get best benefit out of it if we don't have a good quality infrastructure in place. So this is an opportunity in any case for the industry, and I think India is, of course, leading at all fronts. They say digital technologies can create a healthcare system, and I think that can even an astronaut on Mars alive. That's what they're saying. Today, the potential is so much. Far away, wherever you are, I think you can be taken care of. We need to use our digital health technologies to make patients the point of care, to let them assess their own data, to involve augmented algorithms to help make decisions on the go. That's the only way that we can bring healthcare within the reach and the remotest part of the country, and that too with well-monitored quality systems and very, very affordable. The promise of digital technologies to improve diagnostics and vitro diagnostics play a very key role in today's healthcare system. IVDs have a very, very important role to play. The importance has been strongly highlighted in the global effort to combat and control the spread of COVID virus that causes COVID-19. We have all seen that last 2.5 years, how important IVDs are. IVDs account only for 2% of total healthcare spending, but they influence about 66% of clinical decision making. That's the data today. I think better use of IVDs probably can help better outcomes. IVDs play a very crucial role in diagnosing disease, assessing treatment efficacy and patient health status, and or enable the prevention of disease. IVDs cover a massive spectrum of conditions and are such fundamental aspects of modern medicine that the WHO has designated 120 test categories as essential. So those are the essential test lists. If you do that, probably it takes care of almost all the 40% or 50% of our NCDs, which is a major burden in the country today, and that too with a lot of point of care and new age diagnostic tools. Now, despite the tremendous utility, current diagnostic system has room for improvement. And that's what we're going to discuss today. I think you all look forward as I move forward. The one limitation of the test is the results are typically reported as single static number without any statement of uncertainty. That means what I'm trying to say is that which may lead to erroneous assumption the lab results are accurate, because we are getting a test in one point of time. Generally, largest contributor to variability in lab results is biological variation, which may be overlooked when measurements are taken at specific snapshot moment in time. Today, the continuous monitoring, because you have a value in the morning, the afternoon, and evening, but that can actually vary, and probably you get take a decision based on the morning value, or the afternoon, evening value are probably much more relevant clinically, maybe. So I think the continuous monitoring processes, our tools are now also offering, which is going to, again, link to our digitalized system or our electronic health records or the clinicians and the healthcare providers, and that will help, again, real-time monitoring of the healthcare and, of course, contributing to treatment. Another limitation is that the test data is often siloed and used in isolation for single need. In fact, that's something we just put one data and we take it in isolation. But today, I think every day new database algorithms are being derived, helping to improve clinical outcomes. A lot of integration is happening. What's your habits? What are your blood tests? What are your radiological assays? what's all molecular assays, every possible thing, what lifestyle and probably your eating habits, nutrition, everything probably getting it integrated. I think once that integration comes, you'll have a better health risk assessments. And again, digital diagnostic and digital technology will play a very important role out there. Furthermore, the large number and variability of available tests make it difficult for the non-specialist probably. I can say I'm talking about specialists are very well aware today, but general physicians, the healthcare providers accurately select the correct test. Because they're a large number. I think over time now we have so many assays available to us. Probably the algorithms or data together or a great technology can actually, you feed in 5 symptoms or 5 patient symptoms, probably small algorithms can pop up. And so these are the right tests which can be advised and which can save money and better treatment, of course, at the right point of time. So again, this is enabled by digital diagnostic technology. Today, digital diagnostic can and should be used as a resource multiplier of existing diagnostic infrastructure to combat individual and public healthcare challenges and help to elevate some of the capacity and resource pressures on the health system to improve the speed and efficiency of the testing processes. Needless to say, without digitalization, this would not have been possible. And today we are right at the doorstep. I think many of the places, many of the corporates are using it at various opportunities and wherever possible. These diagnostic trends are made possible only by digital technology. I think during this session and during if we move forward next 2 sessions, we aim to answer the various questions. What impact digital technologies have in IVD diagnostics in future? What benefits will the increased use of digital tools bring to healthcare providers, labs, healthcare systems, and patients? And what are the potential pitfalls of the increased use of digital technology? I think this is all we're going to discuss today as we move forward. With this, I like to thank CII Delhi chapter and the team who has put up this very the important topic, and which is, I think, the burning topic today, and which everybody is looking forward to adopt it in practice here and there. Thank you so much, and then I like to invite my co-chair, Mr. Anand K, to share his views and the wisdom and take the session from here.
Thank you, Dr. Gaur, for your inspiring talk and setting the context and tone for this summit. Good morning, all. On behalf of CII Delhi Subcommittee on Healthcare and Wellness, I warmly welcome Mr. Santulan Chaube, Joint Director, Department of Information Technology at the Government of NCT Delhi. I also welcome my colleague and industry peer, Mr. Jatin Mahajan from J. Mitra and Company. It's great to be able to speak to you all today. Today's topic, as Dr. Gaur has mentioned, is a very important one. Much is being spoken about all things digital, big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, especially in healthcare and diagnostics. While the future looks promising, we still have a long way to go in terms of leveraging technology to create access. As Dr. Gaur said, access and affordability, these two are very critical. And that is the way we move forward as far as both public policies as well as private growth is concerned. To truly enable accessibility and affordability, digital and healthcare needs are to be interconnected. In India, a large amount of healthcare delivery happens at primary healthcare centers. To deliver quality of care at all levels, there are multiple aspects to consider, whether it's a physical infrastructure, the deploying of appropriate services and applications, developing a capable healthcare workforce, ensuring a sound legal and regulatory framework, and improving governance, policy, standardization, and most important of all, interoperability of these systems. While technological development moves quickly, the same is not always true of public policy, clinical practice, and the generation of evidence. Research, especially on and evaluation of digital health outcomes and impact, are therefore essential to support its safe and ethical implementation, to promote accountability and justify the investment of funds. As individuals increasingly become agents of their own care, policy frameworks and the use of digital technologies such as biometric identification, data privacy, patient privacy, and security, trust in digital health is to be maintained. These things have to be looked at. Suitable regulation is also needed to ensure the quality and safety of software products, devices, and applications that are used not only in primary healthcare, but that may also be directly marketed or otherwise available to individuals, like continuous monitoring, patches, and devices that helps you give a longer window of diagnostics. From a diagnostics perspective, targeted therapy and precision medicine will change the entire outlook on how diagnostics is viewed. In the near future, clinicians will work together with pathologists to arrive at a precise diagnosis and chart the therapeutic way forward for the patients. As we know, currently we are looking at a very transactional relationship between laboratory and the clinician. But we feel that as we move forward, we will have a more of an integrative approach to healthcare, where labs will also contribute to the managing the outcomes rather than just giving out a test result. So by applying the lessons of COVID-19 and understanding the changing customer requirements, we believe that the future of diagnostics and healthcare will be built on the following pillars. One is home-centered care and testing. The second is data-driven diagnostics. The third is digitalization and automation. And the fourth is advanced testing solutions and efficiencies in supply chain. SRL has been the forefront of harnessing the power of information and technology to enable superior patient care and convenience. It's our privilege to be part of the national digital health ecosystem in India. We were the first lab to be integrated under the prestigious Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission program. As what we look at in terms of healthcare delivery, the future is that it is expected to shift from illness to wellness. Now we are focused more on illness, acute situations. So we'll move into chronic monitoring as well as preventive healthcare. More from offering solutions not just for curative, but also for preventive. From a doctor-first approach to a diagnostics-first approach, from a healthcare facilities to homes of patients, with more and more digitization happening and digitalization involved in the way we work. So this is going to be something which will not be just a discussion in conferences and meetings, but will become a reality soon. So personalized, affordable, always on, always connected, predictive and convenience-based diagnostics is the diagnostics of future. We saw a glimpse of this during the pandemic, and there may not be a time very far when this will become mainstay. I'm sure the discussions in this summit will focus on these aspects, and we make progress, which may be slow but steady, and we'll be able to see the changes soon. Thank you for this opportunity, CII, and we look forward to engaging sessions at the summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anand. I think you really put the crust out there. I think one of the important things I just you mentioned here was like the labs becoming integral part of the treatment. Definitely, we were always been an integral part, but today I think we are more vocal. We are right in the walking along with the clinician. And I've always feel that the pathologists today, pathology or diagnostics providers today, should be really sometimes it should be renamed as clinical solution provider. I think that's something we should be, and that's what exactly the job we are doing today, not only behind the microscope, but I think in front of the microscopes also. I think that's a very important point. I think I look forward to this happening in the future. Another point you mentioned about the logistics and supply chain, I think that's the integral part. I think a lot of work is happening in the real-time logistics chain, and I think your organization has done a wonderful job when it's a sample pickup, sample transportation, real-time inventory, and all things. I think I'm sure as we move forward, we'll be hearing more about it. Thank you so much for being here and be part of the session and sharing with us. I will now thank you, Anand. I'd like to now, invite our guest of honor, Mr. Santalan Chaube, sir. So I think government has been one of the agenda. Of course, we have a national digital health mission. We have a unique ID. We have a lot of things happening when it comes to digitalization in healthcare. We have seen that during the COVID also that become an integral part. I'd like to please, I think, like to share from you what is what the future right here, and what is the expectation of the industry, and how we can take it forward and be partner with you in fulfilling your mission, and for having fulfilling our country's vision to have the healthcare for all at the remotest place. Mr. Santulan, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity by CII to talk in front of all learned people here and give the vision, what vision the industry is having towards healthcare, and vision of the government where we match. Actually, there are lots of challenges, Dr. Gaur, when we talk about the medical diagnostics and the medical care. So the challenges are in terms of, like you also told, quality, accessibility, affordability, and inequity. India is a country of diversity. So when we talk about all technological interventions, they somehow limits only to the metro cities, and they are not going down below. So one of the major challenges that the digital boom, what we are having in India, should go down, and they should go down till the last mile of this country, where the patients at the last mile get the same facilities what our metro people gets it. Private healthcare space is fragmented and unregulated. Approximately 1% of private hospitals in India are formally accredited today. Just one study says so. The high cost of private healthcare is a major concern, major driver for persistent poverty in India. I have seen that people take loan to get the tests done, to get the better healthcare. They come all the way to Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai to get the healthcare and get the things done. As per the records what I have in front of me, 55 million Indians have pushed below the poverty line due to healthcare cost in India, which is a really matter of concern. With 38 billion of these falling below the poverty line due to high cost of medication. They have to pay through the nose to get the then all the patients have to make sure that they are treated well with the cost. So the technology come in picture now, sir. That now technology is the thing which can bridge between the facilities, what we are creating through artificial intelligence, through machine learning, through all other means we are having on the technology front. And we have to meet these all the technologies for the goods of the people. So we have to address the uneven ratio of skilled doctors to the patients. We have to address to the uneven access to the diagnostics to the patients. And these complex procedures enabling a delivery of personalized healthcare that we have to take care. So Government of India has recently announced a draft national strategy for artificial intelligence in India. And this policy emphasizes addressing the challenges in providing healthcare to the larger section of this population using technological innovation. The government is also creating national digital health infrastructure, like our DigiLocker. Everybody knows DigiLocker. They are trying to create health locker, which is called electronic medical records, where an electronic national health registry and cloud-based data storage system that would serve as a single source of health data for the nation. This will be a kind of paradigm shift in India, because actually for the villages and for the middle town people, they don't care for their test. Test happens, doctor says, and like I think Dr. Gorsa, you are only telling that there are lots of vision is to be created down the line. They take the test and put some racks and some almaris. There's no continuity in the test. They don't know what happened 2 years back. So lots of continuity is to be maintained for a proper informed healthcare to the Indian citizens. So health locker will be one thing which will come and which will definitely have the impact. Second most critical thing is the integration of the hospitals, healthcare, and private sectors also. The health local, or what you call it, integrated hospital management system, where the things will marry. Wherever the patient goes, it is going to government hospitals, it is going to private hospitals, it is going to private diagnostic centers, it is going to government lab, but data should be at one place. The data is very prime and data is very important for many purposes. It is very important role-playing factor when it comes to a concerned treatment given to the patient. Entire history of the patient should be available at some common place. When I say, friends, that there is a need for an integrated information system linked to Aadhaar system, like you said that we have got too many nowadays soft infrastructure. One is the Aadhaar, which is now which can be used for identification and which can be treated as a unique ID with lots of care. I will come to that at my last part. That this policy call for a state-backed or state-enabled digital infrastructure for data exchange. The role of data exchange is very important, which is then accessible to the patient for the medical sector, for the further innovation, research, open application programming, where you are not getting the you're not using the application as such, you are using the data. The data is exchanged between two platforms with a proper encryption and all data security things in the provision. All the diagnostics which have the numbers, and this data is very important, and it is very critical also for the government and for the public. So the security of this data is very important, and this is why it is very much said that this is $1 million data what we will have in our digital local healthcare, whatever we call it. So there's the responsibility of the technology sector people, doctors, practitioners, everybody, to maintain the integrity of this data. It is very difficult to maintain. So lots of protocols are there where data can be maintained and data can be integrated. The consent of the patient is the other thing which is very important, how consent is taken. Fortunately, I hope and I wish that Data Privacy Act, which is pending in the Parliament, will come soon, and that will enable the data security and data privacy part of the patients, because data is the max importance. The most four things what I was trying to focus on that at the last, the 4 areas in which intervention are being developed. One is disease detection and the diagnostics. These are to be matched at some point. Process optimization is very important. The process of right from the beginning to end, it has to be digitized, and many places it is already there, but it has to be uniform. Third most important part is the patient-facing applications. And it comes for all the wearable devices. Nowadays, Dr. Anand also talked about the end-to-end monitoring of the patient. It means data is collected continuously, 24-hour data is collected. But I see that all the wearable devices are not tested. So data coming from those devices, how much it is reliable, I cannot guarantee. Nobody can guarantee that. So there should be some kind of audit of the machines which are coming into the market, and lots of patients trust on these machines, and lots of information is taken by the doctors also to give the solution for that. Fourth is the data solution. That data privacy, where data is kept, how data is kept, these things are very important, and both government and private sector should work together in this to create a conducive application system where the participation of all 3 major stakeholders, patients, doctors, diagnostics, and medical fraternity, and patients, all the aspiration of all 3 big stakeholders are taken together. With this, if we follow this, and we are already having lots of first in the world, we have seen our COVID-19, and the way we have taken the challenge and the way we have managed the tests all across the country is really exemplary in that. And the question of having such a system, nationwide, a huge system, what government of India called Ayushman Bharat, integrating with the Ayushman Bharat, including with the insurance companies, this entire ecosystem is to be developed as one unit in the country. Once it is there, when I say one unit, it means it does not mean that we will have one application. We will have many applications, and these applications will be connected very well through APIs and through other things to exchange the data amongst that. Once we create this ecosystem, then a conducive environment will be created where anybody and everybody in the affordable cost can get their test done, and they can have a good healthcare in this country. This is what I want to say in that way. Thank you very much for giving me time.
Thank you so much, sir. I think giving a little very detailed insights of what you're attempting to and what's government mission is. And of course, I think it'll be a pleasure from the industry side that wherever we can pitch in, sir. I'm sure we have healthcare in India is about 60-70% the private health care providers.
Yeah.
The industry have wealth of wisdom, and in fact, we have right here Anand, who's of course heading the Helm of Affairs, the topmost or the largest diagnostic provider in the world, for that matter.
Yes.
We have Jatin also along with that, and so there are many more people involved into the system today. And it'll be a pleasure to work out and maybe have come over to some discussion and talk to you, and let us see how we can work out together.
That will be wonderful, sir.
Yeah, I think your vision of the health digital locker, I think that's an important thing, because I think all other documents are in a locker, but health, the data is actually all across in multiple folders. I think we need to put them in. And I'm sure this will be the need today, and this will help out and reduce the cost, because otherwise, every time you go to a doctor, you have to start from scratch again. And that's actually the cost. We don't know the past history, because 4 years back, what happened, probably the data is not available most of the people. Sir, I think equally important is, I think we will also be very happy to come back to you and probably discuss with you on the various infrastructure creation. What are the limitations and challenges, and of course the kind of what you talked about, the data privacy. I think many of us probably in the industry follow very stringent compliances at our own. There is a government laid down guideline, but I think it'll be a pleasure to be part of your team, where we can help out and we can probably give some suggestions and probably learn from you how to adopt the practices and take it forward.
Great, sir. This is learning exercise for me also, sir. So I'm also learning in this workshop. So this is
thank you so much. Of course, I'm saying there are a lot of challenges, but I think together we can definitely overcome any of the hurdle. And I think our main aim is that the diagnostics or healthcare should be to be provided to the person who the last post. I'm a military man, and I come from the remote, certain remotest part of the country today, the largest border. So probably, we know what is the challenge, because we don't even. But I've seen in one of the remotest place, probably at the border of some middle of the last post, there's a huge rock. In the rock, somebody has written a Coca-Cola. But I think but health services are not there. Imagine to reach these people. I think it's time for us to make sure we look at that part of a stone. We should have a COVID awareness, we should have mask and medicine available to you. But I'm sure together we can do it. Thank you so much, sir. I think the last and most important, I think we'll again put across the point is what Anand mentioned in the start also. It's time to focus also on the wellness part. Illness in diagnostic industry has always been illness. But I think today a lot of focus on wellness. If you focus on wellness well and integrated well with our system, and I'm sure the burden of second healthcare on the various providers or secondary or tertiary hospital reduce substantially, and patient can be treated at home, and most of care have been taken at that point of time. And I think something like that we also mentioned. So we will be also looking forward to participate and contribute wherever we can. Thank you so much, sir. I think we being here and it's honor to be listening to you. With this, I move on to our the next last speaker is Jatin Mahajan. Jatin is, of course, again the co-chair of CII I have mentioned, and a vast experience. Jatin, I think over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Gaur. Good morning, everyone. and thank you for joining us here today for the CII Diagnostics Summit 2022. And for those of you who have joined in late, the key theme for the summit is digital diagnostics shaping the future of healthcare. And before I go any further, let me take this opportunity to thank our guest of honor, Shri Santulan Chaubey, who is the Joint Director from the Department of Information Technology, Government of Delhi, for gracing this occasion and taking time out from his busy schedule in joining us here today and sharing his valuable insights with us. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the CII members subcommittee from Delhi, which is the Healthcare and Wellness, Dr. Ravi Gaur, as well as Mr. Anand and the entire team of CII Delhi for making this event possible. India's diagnostic growth story is in fact intact. If we see last 2-3 years, we have gone through tremendous amount of transformation. What we have seen is companies rise up to the occasion, taking a role of a leadership, as well as there has been a lot of meticulous planning which has gone in tackling the pandemic. And this has been possible because of what I said earlier, meticulous planning, and at every stage, proper inputs have gone, and also a proper regulatory system which is in place today. So it will be apt to say that there is a silent transformation which is happening in the diagnostic space. And in this context, I would like to share that the CII Diagnostics Summit is extremely timely, apt, and relevant as on date. Let me share some key pointers with all of you here, that the medical diagnostics is the first line of defense in healthcare space. The second thing is that 70% of the therapeutic decisions, evaluations, as well as procedures are based on the medical diagnostics. The other thing which I'd like to share is the average life of an individual has now increased substantially. Earlier, it was around 52.5 years, but now in last 40 years, it has increased to 69.5 years. And this has been made possible due to advancements in technology, as well as the cutting edge therapies and treatments which are now available to the individuals here. Another thing which I like to share here is that what we have seen during the pandemic is the diagnostic testing, which has come to the forefront in terms of the monitoring, in terms of the detection, in terms of the quarantine. So the strategy which has been adopted is testing, tracking, and then tracing. And me being part of the diagnostic industry, the medtech space, we believe that innovation is the core of everything. It lies in the heart of everything, what we say, what we do.
Yeah,
And
you know, one of the other things that we have to make sure when we go do,
sorry. Okay. So, as I mentioned, that the base of whatever the industry does, the diagnostic industry does, is innovation. Keeping in mind that the solutions, what Dr. Gaur, what our guest of honor has mentioned, and what Mr. Anand also mentioned, was that the technology, the service should be available at a limited resource setting. And at the same time, it should also be accurate, it should be precise, it should also ensure a kind of a self-reliance to the patient, so that when the line of treatment is shared or given to the patient, it enhances the patient's well-being as well as the health of the patient. So the tenets of the diagnostics, be it the manufacturing side, be it the lab side, be it the delivery side, would be availability, affordability, as well as accessibility. Because with technology being accessible and adoptable, it will help in lowering of the cost, which means the well-being and health of the patients will be better enhanced. As I mentioned earlier, that 70% of the therapeutic decisions are based on these medical diagnostics. And what also Dr. Gaur had mentioned, that we will see that diagnostics will become very much personalized, be it genetic testing, be it genomic testing. And also one of the biggest challenges between the testing and the delivery side is bridging this gap so that the turnaround time for testing can be reduced and reporting can be done much faster so that the line of treatment can be given in the quickest possible manner to the patient. And this is what the future is going to be. There is a lot of investments which are happening in this space, even as I speak. Now, to facilitate and to grow this ecosystem, it needs to have a right mix of regulatory and policy matters so that it encourages everyone, be it the manufacturer, be it the lab, or be it the delivery partners, to take it to the next level. Now, as far as the diagnostics labs are concerned, what we have seen during the pandemic, the workload has substantially increased, resulting in the need for automation. So there is a very big requirement for automation when the workload increases, resulting in reduced turnaround times, resulting in faster reporting to the patient, resulting in better outcomes, patient outcomes, resulting in the purpose of what we said earlier, better healthcare, better wellness to the patients. As what Dr. Gaur and Chaubiji had mentioned, that in terms of machine learning and artificial intelligence and investment and more advancement in this particular area will lead to a disruption in the industry. And what we see here is that as far as the AI is concerned, it will create a disruptive impact as far as the workflow of the lab spaces is concerned, because now what is happening is a lot of data sets are going to be generated. And for it to be processed, machine learning is going to actually enhance the processing power and giving a outcome to the doctor, to the clinician, so that they can add value to this outcome, resulting in better care for the patient. Also, what I feel is that the role of the healthcare professionals will also enhance drastically. And what I see is, be it the nurses, be it the doctors, be it the phlebotomist, all their roles will actually go up in the value chain. Well, the topic of digital diagnostics is very exciting, and I can go on and on. But we have a lineup of speakers who would be sharing their insights, and they have very good insights, richness and depth of insights, which I'm also happy to listen and gain knowledge from them. And before I conclude, I would also like to thank the sponsors and the participants with whose support this event is made possible. And I would like to specifically thank the sponsors with whose active support this event is made possible. So the sponsors are Dr. Lal's Path Lab, SRL Diagnostics, Redcliffe Labs, Flebo.in, Roche Diagnostics, Applied Material, and CRL Diagnostics, and also our media partner, Medical Buyer. Lastly, a special thanks to our participants here. In spite of the fact that it's a long weekend holiday, they have chosen to be here with us today to learn, to gain knowledge from the speakers who are present on this platform, and to be part of this digital mission shaping the future of healthcare. So with this, I'd like to thank, and let's start with our session. Over to you, Dr. Gaur. Thank you.
Thank you, Jatin, for setting up the tone for the next session. And thank you so much. I think I'd like to again thank the entire CII team of Delhi chapter, Suman, Rachna, and everybody who put a lot of efforts into the system. And I look forward for the interesting. Thank you for everybody. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Sir Sanchalan, Sir Ratin, and everybody. And thank you for being. And I'm sure we had some insight, and we'll get back to you, sir. I think with the industry participation and how we can take it forward. Thank you, everybody. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon.
SRL Diagnostics.
Very good morning to all the panelists. Dr. Gaur, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Please take it forward from here, please.
Morning, Dheeraj, Dr. Gaur here. How are you?
Very well, very well. Good morning.
Pleasure seeing you. We have other panelists with us now.
Yeah, we can start.
Suman, all of the guys, all panelists are with
Yes,
us
yes,
now?
everybody is there.
Okay, I think we have. Morning, Ashish. Morning, Gaurav, and morning, Amit. I think
Morning.
morning. I think let me start. My video is right here.
Hi, good morning.
Morning, everybody. I think let's start. I think we already we're shooting our time about for 3 minutes. I think we can start right away. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the second edition of the CII Diagnostics Summit with the theme of digital diagnostics shaping the future of healthcare. This summit has been organized by CII Delhi Subcommittee on Healthcare and Wellness. And I often wonder why we have kept healthcare and wellness separated. I think wellness is an integral part of the healthcare. But in any case, I'm sure I think a lot of integration is happening, and that's exactly what will be probably the session will be addressing. And I think the committee has been made for the entire year. We're working on it to integrate wellness as part of the healthcare. The diagnostic summit brings I think together with various stakeholders, expert industries, on where to share the wisdom and experience. And with this today's welcome to the today's session. Now today's session is about role of digital diagnostic in ensuring accessibility and quality for futuristic healthcare. And this is something we will be discussing with all these team panelists as we move forward. I'd like to introduce my we have a very respected and diverse and experienced panelists today. We have Dr. Sanjay Kalra. He is one of the leading most endocrinologists from AIIMS, and I think he'll be joining us probably another 4 minutes from now. He is a past president of Endocrine Society of India, and he has vast wisdom probably of clinical connection with because that's most important from all of us. How do the clinicians and the diagnostics work together? Of course, today we talk about clinician and the diagnostic providers, and of course the technology. I think that's what the whole summit is all about. So Dr. Sanjay Kalra will be joining us, I think, another 5 minutes from now, and he is one of the member of Program Organizing Committee, International Congress of Endocrinologists from Singapore, and he has a lot of publication, and we look forward to hearing from him as we move forward. Also, I have Dheeraj Jain. Dheeraj, welcome, Dheeraj. Sir, I think Dr. Sanjay Kalra is in. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, how are you?
Fine, sir. Pleasant to hear you, sir. That'll be nice. Also, I have with me Dheeraj Jain, who's a founder of Redcliffe Labs. And Dheeraj is, of course, Redcliffe Labs, all you know is is been building up by the Dheeraj, and with the vision of building truly a pan-India most advanced diagnostic platform affordable to all. They have a vast presence over 120 cities, and I think Dheeraj is leading all them and very, very aggressively. And I'm sure as we move forward, we'll be hearing more from Dheeraj what exactly his vision is and what he's looking forward. Dheeraj is a graduate of is a graduate of science and management technology consulting in London, and moved to Finland. Nokia probably has a worldwide experience all across, and he's worked on various cross major functions, and his MBA from Case Business Schools in London. Then he's worked in Nokia. I think I can see probably his portfolio is what's really set for today, because India is a place for innovation and infrastructure creation and delivery, and with the right kind of finances in the quality system, making people diagnostics affordable. He's I'd like to mention one important part. During 2017-18, he also created the renowned brand PSafe, around women health during before starting Redcliffe, and that's actually become almost like a household name today. Welcome, Dheeraj. It's a pleasure to have you on board with us on the panel
Thank
discussion.
you. Thank you, Dr. Ravi.
Also, I have with me Gaurav Agarwal. I think Gaurav is the co-founder Tata 1MG, and of course, last about 9 years, 1MG has actually really established themselves as, and today, last like 3 years, you can say, they have become one of the the new age diagnostic provider with the use of technology. At Tata 1MG, Gaurav leads the e-commerce business and also the company's overall product and technology strategy. And I think we'll be hearing his experience as we move forward. Gaurav was brought up in Kanpur. He is a computer science graduate from the Institute of Technology, Delhi. And prior to Tata 1MG, he was with the Silicon Valley, where his last role was general manager for Zigna's most successful online social game. I think that's something what I'll be talking about as we move forward, because this session. Also with me, we have again a technologist, I think Mr. Ashish Vikram. He is a software industry veteran, a graduate of IIT Delhi and Purdue University. He started his career in Silicon Valley in 1989. Then he moved on to India with set up 3 new software development organizations from scratch and grew and nurtured them into highly productive software development labs until eventually they were acquired. He had stints at Yahoo and Flipkart as vice president engineering and much more. Currently, Ashish is CEO of Flabo.in and the co-founder at VideoCan. I think they are now trying to making use of the digital technology and making sure that diagnostics is there, as at the doorstep and the big cafeteria approach. I'm sure as we move, we will hear more from Ashish as we move forward. Ashish is experience in managing technical projects both in US and India, and I think his specialty is basically building and managing high quality, highly productive, and high quality software development team for developing software products, and that's today healthcare need is. Lastly, I have also with me Amit Agrawal. Amit is the head logistic and home collection of the Lal Path Lab. I think everybody knows, the Lal Path reach and wherever they are, they have almost all one of the largest diagnostic providers in the world today. And of course, one of India's largest provider with all kinds of things. And Amit has the logistic with what experience of IT, commerce, and the entrepreneurship and the various applications of technology in his organization. I think I look forward to hear from you, Amit, as we move forward. Welcome you all, I think, to this session. And before I ask the question, because I will not take much time, but I'd like to talk about a couple of 2 minutes before I move on to the questions and hearing from all of you. That's something what I wonder, because if you look at probably I just go back 15, 20 years, not even 15 years, probably, maybe. Something interesting was happening to the internet. When at that point of time, we were looking at from, we were all used to internet for video games, some plays here and there, some, kind of a thing, playing, you can say the YouTube and songs and kind of a thing. But I think that parallelly, a lot was becoming into the source of healthcare information. And according to a few research, 72% of internet users today looks online for health information within the past year. 50% search for information about doctors and other health professionals. And 38% search for information about hospitals and other medical facilities. And today, you'll be surprised, I think the numbers we're talking about 60 to 80% of people, they search for diagnostic. Whenever they have a diagnostic, they just straight away go on the line, who are the best diagnostic providers and what all can that. That kind of a reach from just using the internet and the IoT only for the songs and music. Today, I think it's really arrived into healthcare. The rapid change has become the, you can say, defining feature of pathology and diagnostics. And can this change power a new generation of lab software to shape the role of clinical laboratory of the future? I think this is proven by many of you, and I think that's the future right here. The personalized medicine, otherwise known as genomic medicine or precision medicine, is again a rapidly growing field. Digital health, an opportunity to advance health equity and the potential to make healthcare more equitable and affordable and probably accessible to each and everybody. This is an opportunity for addressing health equity and digital health solutions. by using the technology and by bridging the equity gaps, it requires significant work, and digital tools can be critical in that effort. By taking inspiration, I think many of you are the startups here, I think for that matter, from who have just come up in the last 10 years. By taking inspiration from startups and established leaders in the field, digital health innovators can begin to envision how the product will address health equity, and diagnostic is not left behind. We are not only talking about user diagnostics in as a providing service, probably more of a helping in the clinical decision making, disease control, and prevention. The world of diagnostic is entering a new revolution with digital diagnostics. The convergence of digital technologies and diagnostics tools has set the stage for advancing patient experience and better clinical outcomes. I'll say today diagnostic has become an essential component of healthcare ecosystem in helping to facilitate the accuracy and timeliness of information transfer. I think the communication, the way the results have been transferred, the way the information has been transferred, pre, the analytical, during the analysis, and the post-analytical is a real-time transfer. We have been able to get a real-time work, you can say the information. It's not like one-time test, because sometimes we get a test report after 3 days. What is the point? Because the condition was there 3 days back, patients improved. The real-time monitoring, real-time reporting, I think that's again a use of technology, what we're looking for. Again, based on that, we have a lot of algorithms, AI, cloud-based system, all is coming up. And that's leading to very personalized medicine, personal precision medicine to be more precise. And then, of course, a target-based therapy. I'm sure Sanjay will be speaking about it. The last, probably I'll say that today digital diagnostics tool can and should be used as a resource multiplier of existing diagnostic infrastructure to combat individual and public healthcare challenges, to help alleviate some of the capacity and resource pressures on the health system of India, to improve the speed, efficiency of the testing processes, with keeping in mind the data privacy and the compliances. I think that's, very, very important point of mine. With this, I move on to my panelist. I think I probably straight away come to my first panelist, Dr. Sanjay Kala. Sir, I think Sanjay, I think I'm thankful to you, sir, for you have been able to take some time out, because I understand I somehow don't like patient, as a patient waiting outside the OPD, my doctor is busy, and you're a clinician. I understand that you don't even the patient waiting outside there. So we have come out of that, and thank you so much for your time. So I'll, in fact, won't take much time. I'll ask that two questions straight away to you, sir. You are an authority in itself, and most of us have seen you leading the discussion on KK talks. And you are representing India in a global association and have authored almost like more than 700 clinical papers. My two questions. First question, as a practicing clinician, which are the latest innovations from diagnostics, per se, have you come across? And give us some practical examples where these innovations have helped clinicians and patients in reaching better outcomes. And in fact, rather, I have mentioned in my inaugural stage, are you seeing a change where the pathologists or diagnostic providers are becoming a clinical solution provider instead of just being a result provider? So I think.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Dr. Ravi, for that question. And the change is visible, it is palpable, and it is welcome. Of course, any change does bring some amount of discomfort with it. And there are many conventional clinicians who don't feel comfortable with the changing trends. But I, for one, would say that it is welcome. We should embrace such change. Let me enumerate some of the changes that have occurred. First of all, like you said, the laboratory technologist, the laboratory specialist is becoming an active participant now in delivering healthcare. And that is welcome. The clinician should welcome it, because now when we see the reports that come out from any laboratory, maybe yours, maybe anybody else's, there is so much of explanation there for the patient. Though I would say that the font is so small, it is difficult to read without spectacles. So maybe the font can be made bigger. Do spare a thought for the people who are taking the printout. Some reports, a simple number, maybe you want to give a TSH of 2.5, that is accompanied by a baggage of 5 other pages. So just think of the environment and think of the poor little trees in Haryana which are being cut down for your paper. If you don't have paper, then spare a thought for my spectacles. The people will bring a 40-page report and say, please read it on the telephone. If you can do it 100 times a day, then you come and take charge of my clinic. If you can't, then don't expect me to do the same. So you should give information, but it should be minimized. It should be optimal. And too much of information is also bad for health. So that was overall, but it is welcome. All these things are welcome. Patients ask better questions now, and they finally lead to better outcomes. Regarding specific tests, let me take one or two examples. One is from cardiovascular disease and diabetes, and that is a test known as NT-proBNP. Now, earlier, heart failure or any other disease for that matter used to be diagnosed only when it led to complications. The patient becomes so sick that the patient has to be admitted to hospital. NT-proBNP does help here. It will help you differentiate between a person who has heart disease and somebody who has lung disease. So in the ICU, we can decide whether to send the patient to the cardiologist. In the emergency, we can decide whether to send the patient to the cardiologist or to general medicine. Once the patient is admitted in the ICU, then NT-proBNP helps you understand whether you are giving the right treatment or not. The levels come down, it means we are treating properly. If the levels don't come down, it means we are climbing the wrong coconut tree. So we need to get down and start all over again. But this test helps us now in the OPD. Even before our patient becomes sick, we are able to do this test for risk stratification. So I get a test done. The laboratory technologist and I and everybody else who is a stakeholder is able to tell the patient whether he or she is at high risk of developing heart disease or not, whether the patient has a chance of getting hospitalized in the near future or not. And this helps us take preemptive measures, whether it is lifestyle or diet or exercise. So this is an example of a test, a diagnostic, which has actually revolutionized the way in which we care for heart failure. There are other examples as well. And one example would come from bone disease, osteoporosis. Traditionally, we have needed a test called DEXA, which is available in maybe about 200 centers in the entire country. And those 200 centers would be located in maybe 50 cities. Very difficult to do, very difficult to standardize. The second-hand, third-hand machines that we have in the smaller towns are a nuisance. They actually worsen things, they harm our patients. But now we have bone markers. You can do them as a blood test, and all the labs offer those bone markers. So those bone markers help us in diagnosing osteoporosis, also help us in monitoring our treatment. So these are some examples actually where newer diagnostics have helped us improve the quality of care that we give our patients.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I think very relevant point you mentioned about the value is just one figure and we have 40 pages coming out. And the point well noted, sir. I think we definitely, I'm sure all of us are there. We have stalwarts, right, of the various lab companies and other things. I'm sure they're all hearing it, and I'm sure there will be some solution. I think I totally appreciate what you're talking about. But it's an era, sir. I think smart reports, analytical reports. Probably I've seen a couple of labs who actually have a, you may be having a 50 test package, whatever it is. Probably the first page is what is abnormal. That's it. That immediately draws their attention, and remaining others can follow. If you are interested, you can follow that. Otherwise, what is abnormal is immediately highlighted in the very first page, and that probably gives you a solution and probably helps the clinician, because I'm sure you're all overloaded with the patient. Your prime is very, very important. Thank you. I am sure they'll take it forward from here. I think the two tests, of course, the DEXA and of course the BNP is now in being used, and the test is getting now point of care. Probably this will be one of the screening tool as we move forward, especially helping in tier 3, tier 4. Even today, even tier 1 don't have all this facility, but I'm sure this will be another point of care testing. And I'm very, very, fond of something we call as path cafes, where patient can just walk in and give an instant testing in 7, 8, 10 minutes. And probably by the time your results are ready, you have your cup of coffee, things are in front of you. Screening tests are done right there. Then probably clinician is available and probably alert, and you can always have a Zoom call, Skype call we're talking about. Probably all information can be shared and discussed point of care. No point in traveling all the way from remote area to the city. Telemedicine had made it possible. But in telepathology, telediagnostics, point of care instruments, integrating them together in the system, that's what technology is. And I'm sure, I think people are hearing and they will be taking forward. The diagnostic is, again, sir, one last question. So diagnostic is truly rapidly evolving field today. and we have panel members who represent hospital lab management. I mean, what is your recommendation to all the panel? We have Ashish Vikram, who's actually doing flapo.in, sample from anywhere, from any place you want, he'll pick it up and get it done. We have Dheeraj, who's actually using drone today to pick up samples on periphery and making sure that tests are rightly available there, the right cost, going straight to the end customer. We have Gaurav with us, who's actually integrating the pharma and diagnostics, all complete solution provider at home also. And of course, Amit, who's a good home care solution provider. What's the one message to them? So what do you like to, before I think I'll allow you to go, because I'm sure your time is precious.
There are mixed feelings and mixed responses to what is happening in the diagnostic ecosystem. What I personally feel is that some of the providers are willing to take up the rights. So the right is that I have a right to offer direct access testing. The right is that I have a right to do whatever test I want to do, even if I cannot spell the full form of PTH or DHES. I have a right to write the word sugar when actually glucose is being done. All I would say to everyone is, why don't you own up to your responsibility as well? How can a laboratory say blood sugar when actually what is being done is a plasma glucose? There is no excuse for that. No excuse. And you can be a billionaire, you can be an Arabpati, but if this is what you are going to do, you do not command respect. So this is the first thing. Take on the responsibility of being an accurate and appropriate care provider. At least write the right words for us. The laboratories do not know the difference between DHEA and DHEA sulfate, DHES. What message does the clinician take? Now, when we get a report like that, we flip the pages and then the patient gets upset. The patient says, Dak Sahab, I spent 1,000 rupees to get that package done, and you've not even spent 1,000 milliseconds looking at it. Then somebody in WhatsApp group is going to say, sync tests, laboratory sync tests. They're just thrown into the sink or into the dustbin. How do we answer that? So these are responsibilities which the provider should take. This is about writing and our interface with the patient. Let me talk about the interface of the laboratory provider with the patient. There are tests like serum insulin, serum parathyroid hormone, which have to be taken under ice, and then they have to be transported under ice. These are nuances which the specialist is aware of. I repeat, I will not blame the MD pathology or the MD microbiology for not knowing about this. The MD biochemistry should know better. But when you are in charge, whether it is Ashish or Amit or Gaurav or Dheeraj, the HR should know whom to recruit for which job. You should be able to specify that this sample has been collected under ice and has been transported under ice. And when you do not do that, and when we have to follow up with your lab 5 times, 15 times just to get that done, and even after it, we are not sure whether it is done or not, then that hurts. It hurts me in my heart to see that direct access testing is actually creating a nuisance for our patients, but it hurts the body of the patient, the wallet and the body both. So this is the message that I have. Please own up to your responsibility as well. Be responsible healthcare providers and work as a team. If we are able to do that, then you know what will happen? We will actually become healthier. We'll become happier. And जो हम ये celebrate कर रहे हैं आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव, ये आजादी का सेहतमंद अमृत महोत्सव बन जाएगा. This is something that is missing. And if, as part of this message, why don't you do an audit of yourself? You've got so many lab tests now, so many HB, TLC, DLC, PCV. I mean, you yourself don't know what tests you are doing in those packages. I don't know what tests are being done. People are doing arsenic and selenium. Well, why would arsenic and selenium and molybdenum have to be done for a healthy India? Has that made a difference to the health of India? It may have difference. It may have made a difference to your stakeholders' health, to your stockholders' health. That is a separate matter. If that is what your aim is, then best wishes to you. But if your aim is Azadi ka Sehatmand Amrit Mahotsav, then we all need to sort of step back, take a deep look at what we are doing, and then you choose whatever path you wish to go on. This is a humble request as a humble clinician working for Indian health.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure that's a wisdom speaking, experience speaking. Sir. I'm sure we have providers here and all providers are listening to it also. And I'm sure they have taken a note of it. And many of them do take note of it. But I think it's a question of accountability, responsibility. Whatever you're doing, it has to be in interest of the actual health, not actually the just like providing something. Probably how will it help the clinical outcome? How will it help the patient, and how will it help to improve the health of an individual? I think a focus you should use the
The
technology.
single
Right?
actionable I would like from all those who are listening now is that you go back and see जहाँ पे भी sugar लिखा हुआ है उसको काटें. Wherever you are advising a test, and on top of that an endocrine test, a hormonal test, and on top of that you've written autoimmune test. You've put us in the wrong basket. Get that corrected. So like you had these Minto-Morley reforms not so long ago. Why don't you do a Minto-Morley reform for the laboratory paperwork for the last mile lab technologist, the person who is taking the samples? Go in as a patient. Why don't you get the test done yourself? Pay the money to your lab, get the test done, and why don't you go and consult a friendly endocrinologist or a friendly general practitioner and see the response that you get as a patient, and then decide what to do ahead.
And thank you so much. Point very well noted, sir. And I think I'm sure you'll find some change definitely, and the message will put all across. And I'm sure that will lead to be exactly what I say, Azadi ka health, sehatmand mode, sir. I'm sure probably you'll find a change in the next. At least
I
definitely
hope
people
so,
on
and I
that.
look forward to
sure
that,
you will
yes.
do that. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much. I move on to the next panelist. I'll move on. Dheeraj. Dheeraj, thank you so much for being here with us. And you heard Dr. Sanjay he's the leading most clinician in the country, and his pain also in any case. So I'm sure you'll be able to address that. But I think more important, that direct first question to you. Can you please share how Redcliffe and diagnostics? Then second question right here will be, how do you see the next decade going to look like, especially when it comes to delivery of diagnostic services using digital technology? Dheeraj, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi, and thank you, Dr. Sanjay, for bringing some of the very relevant points and love to see your face if you are still available. Wanted to, I think these are the kind of thing what you mentioned. I think this differentiate from fundamentally who is the diagnostic company and who are the internet aggregation companies is complete difference. And I think a lot of questions and points very relevant for people who do not have the lab quality and the own fleet and ownership of complete end-to-end responsibility versus the one who build up the whole portfolio and invest in technology and people and quality, as you rightly said. I think for Redcliffe, I think clearly we are a complete portfolio company. We offer genetic advanced specialized tests. Every fourth pregnancy in India, every sixth oncology case in India, every third rare disease case in India diagnosed at Redcliffe. That's the kind of portfolio, and all of these are specialized tests. People would need 20-25 years of medical genetics background to even make a report out of it. So I think that's the starting point from a portfolio perspective. Obviously, the routine as well. The second comes, for us is the channel. We're omni-channel, clearly, largely online, but now from a collection center, nearly 1/4 of the collection center of the largest diagnostic company in India, and offering both to the clinicians and direct to home through that the offline collection center, and clearly the largest collections online. From a scale perspective today, just today, we have collected 10,400 samples before I entered this meeting across 131 cities with not just packages, 72% packages today and 28% non-package samples. So a fairly large infrastructure with 37 labs, most of them state of the art, because of bringing the latest of Abbott and Roche and Transasia into it, with 600 phlebotomists, 200 writers, I don't think so. Diagnostic company, if this was a pure internet diagnostic company, that infrastructure could ever be thought. So our vision, this connects us to our vision. I think clearly the number one diagnostic company with the complete portfolio, focused just in India and Bharat, giving access to 4 families who have never got tested before. 20% of India access diagnostic, 80% yet to penetrate. So penetrating to Bharat, giving Bharatvasis right to test on anything which is from a wellness, chronic, or even to the worst case, if they're struggling on cancer, to a rare disease child home, giving them access, counseling, consultation to these Bharatvasis. And I think that's our real mission, to touch very significant number of the fellow citizens, and can only be done by actually building the full stack approach. We do not do pharmacy, we do not do surgeries, we do not do 50 other things. We only focus on diagnostic with our own complete portfolio. Today, I think we have the highest number of genetic counselors in India. We have research wing, had led the breast cancer research worldwide, finding the tumor aggression level linked to the gene variants. Some of these research are published into the biggest journals. We invest in research, building new test portfolio, building the lab, building the channel, working with these clinicians like Dr. Sanjay, and from All India Medical to PGI Chandigarh to PGI Lucknow, CDRI, CCMB, research focus division, actually understanding the pain point of clinician, not just in the academic setting, but on the real setting, and trying to find out what else could be done, working with companies like Abbott to bring clinical decision support system in reporting, very advanced AI, ML. If somebody come with a abnormal KFT results, look pretty much hundreds of thousands of data set to find out what has been the prognosis, what has been the root cause, and actually bringing that to the report with Abbott and FDA approved software quite exclusively in India. So huge amount of innovation actually happening in the lab, and that's sort of reaching out to the clinicians, and but yet also making affordable to masses, and that cannot be done by just doing in one city, 2 city. It have to be literally a pan-India approach. I mean, that's pretty much our team. What Recliffe have actually done is build the team of experts, veterans, and great executioners across the channels, across the portfolio, and across the cities. And Dr. Ravi, you have visited us and you have seen the setup, and could not compromise on quality at any level. And therefore, this comes with a lot of institutional mindset. We're also institutionally backed. So the highest level of governance on every single aspect, that makes Recliffe quite protected. That's why we can sleep in the night properly. But we wake up as early as 4:30 a.m. Our first sample got collected at 4:45 this morning in Navi Mumbai by a lady phlebotomist. And she have wrapped up her work for today. So investing into the fleet, investing into the people actually on the ground, training them, retraining them, and actually building up a large network. So very big differentiation from actually owning the whole stack across the portfolio, and then gives the confidence that this is the time to kind of really go disrupt in the right way, not destructing, but disrupting the market by penetrating actually and giving them access to the right things at the pricing with the right consultation, both to the clinician and to the consumer. That's what sort of Recliffe Labs is building.
Yeah, thank you, the Neeraj. I think elaborating probably completely about what you're doing. I think I've seen tremendous, great work by the under your leadership and what you found. I think I have visited your place and I've found, I think probably the vision is really right, and I think you're really into the right direction. I wish you great success. Probably, and I think one important part, what Sanjay was mentioning, and I'm very sure you have actually started working on it. That's getting the right kind of scientific team on the board. I think digital technology is just one part. I think, but probably you need to have the right kind of skill set on the top, who actually can guide the use of the technology into a right way. And that's, I think, Recliffe is, I'm aware there. I think they are doing great work by getting some scientific tools and I think right inputs from them. That whatever you're doing is probably producing the relevant results as Dr. Sanjay was talking about. Just one question for you, because I think I like before we move to the next one. What's your experience? Because there is a tier one metro cities is fine. Probably we have people are staying about 50 kilometers, 15, 30 kilometers, connection kind of a thing. Then in tier three and tier four, within which the whole city is within 4, 5, 7, 8 kilometers span. And you have opened up satellite labs in many of the smaller towns. What's your experience of use of this digital technologies? Can you share something where the people prefer to walk in there, or they still want, like, the lab is nearby, but I think I may be staying just about 5 houses away from the lab, but can I get the home comfort? Anything you
Yeah, no, totally agree. This is a very valid point. And I think this is in the metro and the tier two is quite valid. 74% of our business in the tier two comes from online. And nearly 45% comes in tier three from online, which means 1 out of 2 consumer wanted to still prefer getting sample pick from home. I think it's the convenience which they get. Obviously, there's a doctor consultation gets on top of it. But there is, I think the moment you go more deeper, the moment you build up more skill in tier three, you start seeing, it's more offline collection center. I think there, as you rightly said, the distance, but also ability to interact, if you with the lab itself, and that gives a huge confidence. I mean, we have a lab in Reva. I mean, people have not even in the roadmap for the next year. We don't have. I mean, in Reva, we are the second most performing lab in Madhya Pradesh. Put up a lab in a hospital. So it's serving the hospital, it's serving the consumer, people walk in, and then obviously doing enough online as well. I think it's a mixed behavior, Ravi. It's yet to emerge that is the tier three is largely going to be online or offline. It's very, very mixed, depending also on the, if it's a more complex test with the illness, I think there's clearly a walk-in, but if a straightforward, the access is people Google, and even the access for us in the tier 3, 4 comes from Google and Facebook. So, but obviously it's less competitive in the more we go deeper into Bharat in the online, very super competitive in Delhi, NCR, and Mumbai that way. Also on the cost of acquiring these consumer in tier 3, tier 4 is slightly different, but there it comes with the whole experience again. If you don't have lab in the tier 3, and say you're sending to Mumbai, that confidence breaks. Every conversation we do, we speak to nearly 32,000 people every day, and we convert quarter of them, slightly more. And there, the conversation in the tier 3, 4 comes with, do you have a lab? Do you have a collection center? Can I walk in? And sometimes the digital technology also helps the offline business to kind of prosper, because you can still have the conversation, make a booking, but then the consumer can walk in. But I think when we go more deeper, then it's largely offline. Then there is the online, I think very, very rare, unless there's emergency cases or people have to get picked up from wherever they are. But again, the opportunity in tier 3 for us and for the industry is quite massive. And I think we yet to see large branded player sort of emerging and building up a large scale over there. Tier 3 also serves smaller towns around it. And those are the towns, and the clinicians also wanted to see a lab around to get confidence. I think you can't build up a business model by just doing online in tier 3, tier 4. It has to be a large offline and collection center, direct to doctor, to hospitals. And the opportunity in tier 3, by the way, is not just the online, offline, but also the hospitals. 70-80% of hospital in tier 3, 4 have no real operating accredited branded lab. I mean, they're still working, quite partially in that space. And that's where I think anybody who can actually build up and actually put the portfolio. And the third thing is the portfolio approach in the tier 3, no matter how digital it is, when it's come to karyotyping, flow test, or even things like NIPS and marker, or even an exome, nobody serves that market. And I think this is where Reclave is trying to make a difference, to actually use digital, but then to enter into that part of the world. That's what we call real Bharat. And that's what I think probably the next 10 years of big penetration will happen. I think it will push all the players to go inside Bharat properly once for all.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think you're really, I think I'll wish you all good luck, because right at the high-end super specialty to the basic, integrating them together and probably making it available at affordable and right to the doorstep. I'm sure the answer is, like you already mentioned, the hybrid model, but I think the digital technology especially will be helpful to maintain the quality and control, and probably as maybe some kind of optimization and cost control as we move forward. thank you. I think if the time permits, we'll, I think, probably have another question from you. But after that, I think I just move on to Ashish Vikram. Ashish, you are a pure technology person, I think, and you are heading something which is called Flabo.in. You have just founded that, and which is, I think, I'd like to really, it's an interesting model, and I'm associated with it in some capacity here and there. I'd like to hear from you. I think, what exactly, what was the vision when you set up this? Where do you look forward, and what is exactly the offering of the Flabo.in, and where you feel that this is something, how you want to make difference to the healthcare?
Right.
Ashish, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gaur, for those questions. So as you rightly said, unlike a lot of the panelists here, we are not a lab and never will be a lab, right? So Flabo.in provides specialized phlebotomy services for home collection to all labs, to whoever use our services. And the reason we started this was, after COVID, of course, home collection became something that people really wanted, not just for the convenience, but also because actually go to a lab, there are other patients there who may have some viral fever or whatever. So there's a good chance that you may catch something over there. So because of that, people want to do home where that risk is not there. And of course, there's the convenience. So you can get it done at any time you want. You don't have to spend time going and coming back and all of those things. So, but what we found, I mean, some of the labs here, it may not be true for them, but what we found in general in phlebotomy services was, they were being paid on a per collection basis, and the incentive was to reduce costs. So in many cases, the needles used were not the best quality vacutainers. In many cases, they were not using proper cold gel for the transportation and all of those things. So we started this as in a digitally enabled form. So it's a AI and digital, which does the routing and all that, and we guarantee collection in the time slot that you want. This is another problem we saw. People were not on time and people were waiting for them, which removes the convenience aspect then, because if you don't get it collected at the time you want, then you have to keep waiting. So you still have to spend time. So we guarantee on-time collection, AI system, the routing and all of that. We make sure the phlebotomist uses the best quality equipment from BD. Everything is single use, including the tourniquet holder. They wear, antimicrobial uniforms so that the risk of infection goes down even further. And the other thing that it also provides is, it digitalizes all the records for all the tests. So there's a lot of opaqueness today in terms of pricing, in terms of, especially for wellness packages. There is a lot of communication that people get.
Actually, just let me interrupt here. I think one thing I like to, once you're talking about it, I think where is the, you think there is a technology, what we're using it, providing, is helping us? Where is helping us? Because by choosing the various offerings, right?
Correct. So that is
think,
what I was just going to say.
That actually, digital technology helping people to.
Correct. So I was just coming to that. So especially in wellness packages today, right, where people should do more wellness packages, it is very opaque. So people get a lot of communication today saying 80 parameters for so much price and all that, and nobody has idea what those 80 parameters are or 50 parameters are. So there's no way for the consumer to actually compare and see what these parameters are from different labs, what is the packages they're providing, what is the price, and are these parameters useful to me, as Dr. Suman had rightly pointed, had rightly pointed out, that you take these parameters to the doctor and they have things like arsenic and things like that, which are of no use. So for the first time, this provides a platform where you can compare all the packages from different labs and make an informed decision of what actually you want to do, including the pricing and all of those things. And that, I believe, and of course, once you start comparing prices and look at this and inform, and it is very convenient for people to get it done at whatever time they want, then it will lead to more and more people going in for these wellness packages, and therefore improve the health of the nation overall.
I mean, what you're saying is the digital diagnostics, the technology now,
yes, the technology is
allowing
enabling
our customers and patients to have a wider choice,
make
better pre-analytical part, and of course post-analytical also.
Make an informed decision on what wellness package they should choose, from which lab, and it also removes the distance factor. So if it's a lab that you want is a little far from you, Today, it may not be possible for you to go there, or someone from there may not be able to come to your house. So we remove that distance factor. So irrespective of where the lab is, you can book a thing, and we'll transport and guarantee that it is without getting spoiled in a cold gel and all of those things. So from the lab's perspective, they can concentrate on doing, providing good lab services and providing good diagnostics, and don't have to so much worry about the part of it, which we guarantee will be done in a proper way for your lab or any other lab, right? And then this, of course, the labs have the information also, but since the report comes to us and download it forever from there, it provides a wealth of data that is very useful for AI analysis. We can provide a graph of of a particular parameter to the customer, irrespective of which lab they got the test done from. So today you may get it done from a Redcliffe, tomorrow from a Dr. Lal, and you can still see the graph. And of course, when you have all this data countrywide, you can also use it in an anonymized manner to make certain predictions and about the state of the healthcare of the nation, what diseases are more prevalent in a certain population, and things like that. So those are AI enabled machine learning based they're making available as we start getting more of this data. But immediately what is available to the customer is, for the first time, especially for wellness packages, you can make an informed decision by looking at what exactly the parameters are in these 80 parameters that you're getting tested, if they are useful, not useful, which ones you want, don't want, instead of just saying 80 parameters and this is the price, and I'm doing 90 parameters, I'm better. That is not the case.
I understand
always.
your right vision, what you're talking about actually going forward. We are talking about the data driven kind of a thing, and entire data of across the various providers, the diagnostic providers, to be in one platform.
Yes.
And
so Ethos is only to provide phlebotomy services.
Yeah,
we are not
so
a lab.
Yeah.
The lab report comes from the lab and goes to the customer from the lab. So so whatever doctor was saying in terms of sugar or not sugar, that is the lab's decision. We just make sure that the collection is right. And actually today, if you look at the data, 70% of wrong results come because the sample is spoiled when it reaches the lab, right? Because it's not been transported properly in a cold gel or for whatever other reasons. So that part we are guaranteeing will be done in the best way possible. Best equipment from BD. We're not using any other cheap equipment. There'll be a cold gel. The person will arrive there on time. And the digital technology is making all this possible.
Thank you so much. I think we'll try and permit, we'll get back to you again. But next, I move on straight to Gaurav, actually. Gaurav, you are there. Hello.
Hi, Dr. Gaurav.
Yeah, Gaurav, hi, how are you? Welcome. I think the Tata 1mg, I think they have now one of the household names, and I would like you to, how have you utilized, in fact, you are probably the one of the first one probably to use that technology and integrating, because we have multiple verticals. How is that you using this more focused on the pre-analytical part, and what maybe the post-analytical also part that what Sanjay was mentioning about it? How are you using what do you feel that future of digital technology will be for the utilized in diagnostic, in the pre-analytical space and the post-analytical space, and something what you're looking forward, and what do you feel that customer expectations?
That's a great question, Dr. Ravi. And I'll just lay out the journey of 1mg as we started. We started our diagnostics business in late 2015, early 2016. And we started out actually as a phlebotomy service because we felt there are a lot of diagnostic labs in the country. We brought NABL certified labs on our platform. Started out actually as a pure marketplace where we would just do lead generation for them and orders. Initially found that the phlebotomy service itself left a lot to be desired. People were not arriving on time, the quality of material, that Ashish has spoken about. There were all these issues. So we started our own logistics fleet at the time, which did phlebotomy, still did third-party labs. And then it dawned on us in 2017 or so that if we wanted to provide a truly differentiated technology-driven diagnostics experience, then we would have to own the end-to-end flow, which led to set up of our own labs, etc., throughout the country. Today, 1mg runs 9 diagnostic labs. we use technology actually pervasively across the whole life cycle of diagnostics at 1mg. And it starts all the way from, let's say, using technology to optimize who does collections from where, which is a logistics fleet operation, to using technology to actually do temperature controlled transmission of samples, etc. Everything that a phlebotomist does, from sample collection, barcoding, etc., is all tracked through technology. So we know exactly when a sample was collected. We know at any point in time where the sample is in its life cycle, whether it is, let's say, on a motorcycle being transported to a lab, at what temperature it is, whether it is, at the lab being tested out, pre-analytical, whether it is being centrifuged in, let's say, a pre-analytical center. We know all of those things. And then post sample collection, also technology, of course, plays a critical role. It starts out, of course, we are Tata 1mg, so we use, some of the best state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment in the country. We just set up in Okhla, we set up our first reference laboratory, which is and it's a fully automated, 12-meter track, which basically removes all the human intervention in testing, brings in a lot of clinical accuracy to tests, and removes risks of contamination, and also gives us a lot of scale. We can do around 6,000 to 8,000 samples per hour in that lab, dealing with our scale. And even there, technology plays a critical role because all our systems are deeply integrated. We know what results are coming. We know what aberrations are there in the results that, let's say, are being thrown up from a patient. We can recheck, double check. We can actually correlate with some of the other data that is coming in from the same patient. We can check it with the historical data that we have on the patient. And lastly, just going back to what Dr. Sanjay had highlighted, that one of the things that we see, because we still support third-party labs on our platform, is that there's actually no standardization when it comes to what diagnostic parameters labs report, right? And he's absolutely right that some labs will report sugar. Of course, Tata 1mg labs follow a standardized taxonomy, but some labs and patients have reports from different labs over different periods of time, right? So one of the things that we do, and we are very proud of it, is that we built a standardized taxonomy infrastructure where we can take in reports done by many different labs across a range of reference numbers, etc., and we can collate it together to give a longitudinal view to the patient. So, our view is that technology is going to play a critical role in diagnostics by actually bringing tests closer and closer to a patient's home, right? Which you're already seeing through phlebotomy, for instance. But I think the real revolution is going to come with point-of-care devices, etc., which we are starting to see more and more come around, especially in India, where there's a lot of innovation happening on that front. To transparency being brought through technology, right? What's in the test? In fact, I'm sure you're aware of it. Many years back, there was a WHO report which talked about tests which are absolutely useless and should not be done, right? And we in India routinely do those tests because that's a way to increase our revenues and our profits, right? So bringing in that kind of transparency to what a patient selects in terms of tests being done, to bringing in transparency that, hey, this is where your sample is, right? And getting rid of scenarios like sync test, etc., which are prevalent in the industry because, certification and diagnostics in India is still not mandatory. It's optional. And then finally, bringing in technology to data analysis, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc., to say, how do we build this picture together where we tell you, as you grow older, as you mature, that, hey, this is where your health is, right? And 1mg is working across all these segments. Technology is what we do, but clinical is what we deliver.
Thank you. I think, or greatly elaborating. I think three important things come out of it. We're talking about when it comes to diagnostics, the patient, we're doing a real-time tracking of the samples because that's very important. That helps the pre-analytical space. And of course, ultimately the entire technology today, being digital technology, is helping in building up the quality, because we can test the quality right from the sample which is drawn, tracked, reaches, tested, and delivered result in a quality manner. Probably that improving the quality and using the technology, I think these are now probably getting synergies together, and that will definitely, because as you mentioned, diagnostic, we don't have many accredited labs in our country, probably not more than 3,000 to 4,000 labs accredited, not even certification. So probably 1.5 lakh labs, probably only 4,000 accredited, and that really speaks to the situation. But I think the technology helps us to build up the quality and the standardization across, because there may be multiple platform, multiple providers, multiple machinery equipment, probably integrating them together. That's something I think the role of digital technology will be to best diagnostic. I think we'll come back to you if time permits. I think I'll move on to next speaker is Amit. Amit, you're heading the logistic of home collection, and COVID has actually been. So, can you just know what is the role the technology is playing in providing and delivering these services? So that's very, very important. And today, everybody, when especially in a situation like pandemic, everybody was a homeborn, and I think. So, what is the technology? What exactly you feel that this kind of technology would help and build up the future, and how much we can scale, and what are the pitfalls and challenges? Amit, please.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Gaur. So you rightly mentioned out that because of pandemic, the rules of engagement has been changed with the patients now. So rather than they want to visit the labs or the nearest collection centers, they want more and more services to happen at their doorstep. Now, technology is playing a very critical role in bridging that gap in terms of customer expectations, in terms of delivering the services. I think technology is the key driver, which is enabling all these organizations to deliver a quality service at the customer doorstep. We are more offline oriented organization where customers used to walk into our centers and then we used to test them. So there are more than 200 labs which we are operating upon. So how to ensure that all those 200 labs or those 5,000 collection centers are giving that same experience to our patients is a key critical task. And unless we have one system where we can track the end-to-end journeys, all the exceptions, it is not possible to deliver quality service to all these patients. Now, what we have moved into the home collection space is more towards, rather than depending upon the third-party collection service providers, we have tried to keep everything in-house, starting from the technology to the phlebotomy services, so that we can give an end-to-end seamless operations to our patients. So in technology, now the capacity planning is one critical area for us. And how can we do that? So now the things are moving into hybrid direction, where there is a dedicated fleet, and then there is a very large pool of your franchisee network, your own infra, which can always supplement you when it comes for an excess demand or an excess supply which is required in the market. So with technology, you can actually balance out some of these things just to ensure that there is an adequate supply and adequate demand for your infrastructure. Now, how to ensure that we are reaching out on time and we are sending out the right flavour to the doorstep? Thanks to technology, it can be possible now with the help of route optimizations. Who is the nearest one? Who is going to deliver it on time? If there is any exception, the system is going to call it out, so that the system can, in a way, help us identifying if there is going to be any service failure, which can be proactively managed, and then you can ensure that the service which you are committed to the patient can be delivered. So there are areas which are like being touched upon by technology, and in the earlier days when the organization used to don't have any kind of visibility to all those operations, this is thing of past now for all of us, and this is actually driving most of the operations today. Things have changed in a way that rather than I have to do a capacity planning, the heat map generated for a city can help me identifying if this particular area is generating more demand, or this particular area is having more capacity, but there is lack of demand, and you can definitely balance out the things so that you can provide an optimum service to the patients. You can also identify, so how this is going to shape up the other aspects for us. You can easily identify over the map, like what sort of failures or what sort of report insights are coming in which area. So there can be, let's say, malaria spread out or a dengue spread out in a particular area. You can easily make it out over the maps. Like now you know the place of collection, you know the report output. You can easily make out how the things are changing in that particular area. Do we need to do anything just to ensure a quality service, or is there any demand in the market which needs to be addressed? I think everything is possible now with the help of technology for us.
Great, Amit. I think very nice hearing this. I think in the paucity of time, I would have loved to hear more. I think one important point you mentioned about the tracking is on customer facility at the doorstep, and I think more identifying hotspots. And that said, technology is helping out to identify which where the new endemic or epidemic is going to be, because dengue or malaria or maybe cholera or whatever it is. Probably getting a more test. Probably you have the mapping up, and the data probably can help us out to map up and probably ensure authorities can ensure that things are done in time. Now, winding up, I think Ashish, can you have 30 seconds for you? Can you just what is the one line something statement you like to say where digital diagnostics is the future? What in that support? What would you like to see? Just 30 seconds. Anything you want to add, Ashish? Here?
Yes, so digital diagnostics is definitely the future. There are two parts of that. One is the home collection services, which is much more in demand for COVID. And there, as a couple of panelists have mentioned, including my colleague from 1MG and Dr. Lal's, we must ensure the quality of collection on time, tracking of the sample throughout the life cycle. And so we provide that facility to all labs. See, all labs are not today, even though there are NABL accredited labs and all that, they are not today have the IT infrastructure to ensure that which the customer demands. So we provide that facility to the lab without them having to set that up. And so, yes, so
thank you, Ashish. I think I understand that digital technology, diagnostic technology is going to be here, and it is going to be there. I think Dheeraj is just left. Otherwise, I wanted to ask another question to you. Dheeraj is just left. So I think I'll wind off with this. Thank you so much for everybody out there. I think even summarize probably what we can say is that digital diagnostics has arrived, and it's going to be the future probably. We have to make use of every aspect of this in diagnostic, whether the pre-analytical space or analytical space or post-analytical or buildings for the future. We are using this in point of care testing, home care solution, predictive and personal genetic solutions, real-time diagnostic and tracking is happening with the variables also people are using now. Critical decision support tools, because I'm making the clinicians aware, because especially the general physicians aware of what test to prescribe at what point of time, new algorithm, data-driven lab optimization solution, reducing the cost and improving the quality, AI, especially in imaging also, and overcoming all the barriers together. I think that's something what we're looking for. Digital technology is going to be, and it should be probably a resource multiplier. I started in the starting, and we look forward to make sure that the diagnostics using the technology become more affordable, accessible, and it reaches the last man outpost there without any deviation in quality, and of course at the low cost. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you so much all the panelists, and I look forward to see you in person in some time in future. Thank you once again. Thank you, CII.
Thank you, Dr. Gaur.
Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you, Dr. Gaur, for moderating the session so well. We will be starting the next session. Do we have Dr. Arjun Dang, the moderator of the session, please?
Yes, hi. Delighted to be here and looking forward to the session as well.
Thank you, Dr. Dang. And I think we have all the panelists joined us already. Over to you to take forward the session, please. Dr. Dang, can you hear me?
Yes. Just give me a
so
second.
over to you, and we are live. So please take forward the session, please.
Thank you, Suman, and thank you, CII, for this absolutely wonderful opportunity here. And I managed to catch a few bits of the previous session. And I think all of us today in this panel have extremely big shoes to fill. with God sir moderating that session and then stalwarts in the industry. But today, right now, I'm super privileged to again be with pioneers in the industry again, and to discuss how technology-driven diagnostic trends will be shaping up the future of healthcare. I think more than anything, this is a topic that has been discussed a lot about, and I think whether we like it or not, the pandemic is something that has given wings to technology, especially in the diagnostic sector. Also, considering our country that is so wide and where penetration is key when it comes to tier 2, tier 3 cities and the rural areas, I feel that the kind of resources that we have right now and the manpower as well, it is extremely critical for us to leverage technology for last mile delivery as well. Today, we have an esteemed group of experts with us and with whom we'll be discussing the digital transformation and the immense prospects that it has for the future of diagnostics. And I would like to start by introducing and welcoming our panelists, Mr. Sridhar Balakrishnan, Dr. Ashwini Agarwal, Dr. Meenal Chaudhary, Mr. Priyanjit Ghosh, and also Mr. Piyush Jain. Absolute pleasure and privilege, everybody, and really looking forward to our interactions today. Also, I will quickly jump into the questions in the essence of time, since we have a lot of questions, and then if there are any questions from the viewers also, I would like a couple of minutes to address those. But once I start with the questions, my humble request would be if you could introduce yourself in a couple of lines and then move on to answering the particular question. So, Mr. Sridhar, may I start with you?
Yeah, sure, Dr. Dang. Yeah.
Great. So it's really nice to be interacting with you firstly, and a big thanks to CI also for allowing us to host this panel discussion today. But I have been a keen follower of your work and also of Philips and the wonderful work that Philips has done today in the precision diagnostics and personalized medicine space. And I think this has been the narrative since the past about 2 or 3 decades, where personalized medicine and precision diagnostics is something that will be the future, and already in fields such as oncology and even non-oncology spaces like other non-communicable diseases, we are seeing a lot of precision diagnostics. So I would like you to educate us and tell us more about how your company and how your team is approaching the precision diagnosis space.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dang, and thanks to CII as well for, it's a great privilege for me to join this group. It's my name is Sridhar Balakrishnan, Sridhar for short. I've been in the diagnostic space, primarily the radiology side, for almost like 20 years. I also had a stint when the pathology transformation happened, the anatomic pathology transformation happened from analog to digital, and as Philips, we were driving that globally. So I was part of the digital pathology group as well. So we as Philips, have been in the imaging field for almost a century now. I mean, it's like MR, CT, ultrasound, PET CTs, and all these kind of equipments. But what we found in the last 3 years, and as you correctly mentioned, that COVID has accelerated a lot of digitization work that has happened. What we saw from our customers were the amount of information that is being thrown up on all of them from the clinical standpoint, whether it's MR, CT, ultrasound, or any other modality, that radiology modality that you have. It's too much data, and how do they really interpret that, right? And as Philips, we wanted to see the diagnostic space the way our customers see it, like the way you see it, Dr. Dang, or any of our customers see it, right? So the major transformation that Philips did in the last 3 years was we look at the whole diagnostic enterprise as one connected space or an interconnected space, right? So we will, we will put the patient at the center of it, even though we are an equipment company. But just like our customers put the patient at the center of everything, we put the patient at the center of it. And the way to explain this is basically,
the oncology journey that a patient goes through, right? So typically, if you take a oncology patient, the amount of touch points that a patient has in terms of the number of clinicians they interact with, primarily if it's say a breast cancer patient, the gynecologist gets involved, then the radiologists get involved for diagnosis on anatomical location of the tumor, then the pathologists get involved, to see what's the content and the stage and the grade of the tumor. Then we go to genomics, where the origin of the disease itself is found out. So what we have basically done is we have connected technology, people, and care together, right? And what we have done, and it's seen in oncology, is because of the number of touch points that each patient goes through, there are a lot of handoffs as well. So right, so from the radiologist to the surgeon, from the surgeon to the pathologist, and then to the molecular people, and then the radiation oncologist and the treatments and stuff. And so it's a long journey as well, and it's a lot of data that is coming up for each patient, right? But is there a possibility that you can integrate all that data, right? And that's the most important part that we try and do here, because interoperability, like all these diagnostic equipment Philips doesn't need to make. I mean, it's going to take another century for us if we try and travel that journey, right? So what we do is we have a group of 1,000 people across the organization whose job is to only concentrate on interoperability. You give them an MR box or a CT box or a genomics box, they try and put all this together. So what it essentially means for clinicians is, for every single patient, you have a unified dashboard, right? So which completely tells you, from the radiology side, from the pathology side, from the genomic side, the full information for that particular patient. And it's available. We have posted this in an enterprise-based server system. So it's available, like people don't need to be virtually there, like a virtual command center you could have. And, decisions can be taken quite quickly on the basis of the complete information that is available. So that's been our approach to precision medicine, Dr. Dang. And when you come out for the second round, might be I'll speak more later.
Great. Thank you, sir. That was very enlightening and very interesting to know that. And also, I completely agree that I think it's the transparency between the different modalities or the touch points that the patient is going through. And I still remember in my earlier days in King's College Hospital, where I was working at the Liver Institute. It was so interesting because it was the same floor based on the organ disease that was specific. So on the same floor, you had your hepatologists, you had your pathologists, you had your radiologists, and all used to work around liver and all the patients in the institute that had any kind of liver issue. So I completely agree. I think it's communication, and I think technology, and especially with you there in Philips, that has been taken care of. So Dr. Ashwini Agarwal, quickly coming to you, sir. And if you could just quickly introduce yourself. And also, I would like to ask you about your views on how you see AI transforming life sciences. Also, in the past, that day I was reading about a smart toilet that has a sensor in it, and every day when you pass your urine, it measures a few parameters and then gives a red flag in case you need a proper urine test to be done in the lab. All of us today, even me right now, we are all wearing Apple Watches and wearables. And that day only, I was hearing about this NBA player who had an arrhythmia and his Apple Watch caught it, and he rushed to the doctor, and then the needful was done. So I think things around us have been changing. And also with AI, what I always feel is how to actually get that module that you make actually onto the bench and to the patient. And so a little bit about that, and if you could discuss that, please.
Thank you, Dr. Dang. A great hearing all the panelists. Let me start. I'm Dr. Ashwini Agarwal. I am a PhD, and I'm not a medical doctor. I intersect your industry from the other side of the box, the precision engineering side. And I work at Applied Materials, a $100 billion US MNC in precision engineering. Our global engineering teams in India, we have about 6,000 people here. They're working on several cutting-edge R&D projects intersecting life sciences. And I'll be talking about one use case application here today, the AI applications in life sciences for cancer diagnostics. So When you say how I see AI transforming life sciences, imagine you are, the way IT started way back, it was counting money, 60s, but today you can count the cell, you can count images, and you can count these cells at some micron level at a pace humans cannot match. And imagine if you can actually use it for doing the morphology analysis on the cells, where you are classifying the cells, whether it's normal or microcyte or macrocyte, oval. Imagine if you can actually do the tissue color, texture analysis. Imagine if you can actually do these cell size and cell counting analysis, and for millions of cells on that tissue culture that you've got on the IFC slide. This is what the promise of the new technology is. And we can build upon it as we go ahead in the discussion.
Great, thank you, Dr. Ashwini. And for me, a PhD doctor is as much as a MBBS or MD doctor. So I'm going to continue calling you a doctor, and I look forward to learning from you in the next round as well. So Piyush, quickly coming to you. I can't see you, but I hope you're here.
Can you see me?
Yes. Great. So welcome, Piyush. And my next question is to you. And if you could, although most of us already know you, but if you could quickly introduce yourself to the viewers, and also tell us a little bit about how we have been reading and hearing also that how the government has been pushing digital health to improve accessibility and affordability and to reach the last mile of healthcare delivery in India. And this has also been very evident with their push in the Ayushman Bharat digital mission scheme. And also recently, I was also reading that SRL is one of the few labs that actually has integrated this. And how important do you feel this is? And what is your team doing as a part of this, and anything else that you would like to discuss on this point?
Sure. So I would just quickly want to thank everyone for the opportunity to be a part of this stage. And I'm fairly new to healthcare and diagnostics, though. I recently joined SRL. My name is Piyush. I've joined SRL as a Chief Digital Officer. I have a background in tech companies and consulting. I was earlier in Google and McKinsey. And so what I think is that diagnostics is a very, very interesting, very, very evolving space right now. It's also completely charged up with so many new aggregators, data providers, service providers, phlebotomist marketplaces, so many companies who've come into the space that, this entire space is really interesting at this point in time. On your question about, how is the government trying to push the checkups, I think that is something which is a very interesting and a good thing which has happened over the years with the Ayushman Bharat project. I think and there are a couple of these PPP partnerships that SRL has been a part of. We have seen a lot of benefit going to usually health checkups were considered as people who are proactive, who also have a disposable income. But with the government stepping in, this just definitely opens up a view that this is not just for people who have the money. You could do a preventive health checkup and, the government would support it. And of course, we are as players also coming up with programs and a pricing which could touch the masses faster. Because I think SRL also is moving from, and of course, everybody else in the diagnostic industry, there is a big opportunity to shift from, this earlier mindset that I should go to a doctor if I'm unwell, to a mindset that if I continue and take care of my own health and take control of that, I could stay fit and stay healthy. And I think these programs and these initiatives which the government has taken has put that for everyone at the focus. That's what I think about it.
Great, Piyush. So just a follow-up question, which I was also very curious about, was that you come with a huge experience in Google, and then before that, I was seeing your LinkedIn profile last night. And how do you translate that experience, for example, in a giant like Google that you worked with, to one of the most leading laboratories in India, that's SRL? And any fun anecdotes or any experiences that you would like us to share that has helped you transform into this journey into the healthcare side?
No, I think healthcare is such an interesting area. Like I was saying, that there's so much of action right now here, and so much of processes to help. Like I think the reason why SRL would have released, and this is not just with SRL, this is with every company in the industry. The reason why there is a very big push for digital transformation. I think this happened earlier. I think 5 years ago with banking, and then there was education which was disrupted. There is a disruption opportunity here in diagnostics, and not to say that that disruption would change the way the processes were led, but I think the way it would connect and touch the lives of people, that would change significantly. And I think that is the reason why I thought that this is a big opportunity and this is a big place where I want to be. And to your question on how is the culture different, and how is companies like, how do tech companies like Google or consulting companies like McKinsey perceive the environment? I think I was fairly well entrenched, because in Google also I was looking at financial services and travel accounts, and in McKinsey I was helping similar companies like SRL in all spaces, in all industries, in their transformation processes. And what I've seen is that the only major shift for me is that I was earlier doing it from an outside perspective, and now doing the same transformation from an internal perspective it's actually even more difficult to do. But it's very interesting. It also gives the opportunity to see the entire life cycle of it. You're not just building something and then transferring it to the management. You're actually taking it forward. So I think that is where I see there is a lot of opportunity for me.
Great, Piyush. Thanks for that. So quickly coming to Dr. Meenal, and absolute pleasure to have you here. And so Dr. Meenal, one thing that I would, if you could start with introducing yourself to our viewers, and then also tell us a little bit about how all of us are well aware about the use of AI in diagnostic imaging, and how there are multiple of these modalities available, not only for X-rays, but for CTs and so on and so forth. But what are the emerging trends that you see in the imaging space, and what would you predict for the months to come?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So, hi, I am Dr. Meenal Chaudhary, and I am placed as Director of Radio Diagnosis and Intervention Radiology at Akash Healthcare Super Speciality Hospital, which is in Dwarka, New Delhi. So yeah, we've been hearing about AI, ML, its application in various tenets of our life, and I think radiology comes naturally to AI because it deals with digital space. And, hello?
Yes,
Yeah.
you're audible.
So I think there are a lot of applications of AI in radiology. I think Dr. Ankush Sharma needs to mute. There is some noise.
Can everyone please mute their...
So see, artificial intelligence in radiology dates back to before 1950s and maybe even before. So while I was doing my PG, which is like 18 years before, we used to use BCAD, which was computer-aided detection on mammography images to identify breast cancers. Now it has come a long way from, because of integration of AI and deep learning of machine learning, various algorithms which have really, really aided us. So if I tell you a few use cases that we understand, so acquisition of images, like we all are talking about teleradiology and how it is increasing the access of radiology in tier 2, tier 3 cities. But the major problem, and I think my co-speaker will agree with me, the major problem lies with acquisition of images using correct protocols, because even the trained technicians are not placed in tier 2, tier 3 cities. It is one thing to provide infra and another thing to provide intellect at those places. Intellect and skilling, basically. So AI is helping us in those areas where it kind of prompts us how to acquire images correctly in the first place. Now, in the second use case, if I tell you, is that AI has helped us reduce the noise. With very, very low, exposure to the patient, we can have much better quality of images using AI. So there is another application of AI. I can talk in detail about these things, but I think for the want of time, I will just stick to the not the superficial, but I'll just enumerate the use cases. Now, another big use of AI, which we are even using at Akash Healthcare, is intimation of critical results. So sometimes when you pick X-rays in emergency at 2 a.m. in the night, and you're not suspecting anything to that patient, but when you come back in the morning and see the X-ray again, sometimes it is not even reported because the resident thinks it's normal and everything is normal. But when you come back in the morning, the patient has pneumothorax, which has really deteriorated. So there are machines which detect pneumothorax and send you an alert that kindly look at the X-ray of this guy. Even if you are, you wake up, you rub your eyes, but when you see that alert with you, you're really conscious to pick up that thin line of pneumothorax, and that credit goes to artificial intelligence. So there are various other critical alerts. For example, if there is a pile of emergency X-rays lined up, and we have, say, 7 alerts out of them, look at this X-ray, this has a bone fracture, or look at the CT, this has pulmonary embolism. So those automatically come up on the pile, and that's how critical patients are saved. The credit goes to artificial intelligence. Then again, if I say that it also helps us in increasing the throughput, because once you have, say, 300 X-rays lined up on your table, and some bit of computer is aiding us that this is normal, look here, there is some abnormality. So it kind of decreases the time, which is reporting time, which is taken by the radiologist. There are various other applications of artificial intelligence, but these are very few which have really, really contributed to a radiologist's side. And one of the very upcoming use case which we are using in Akash Healthcare is use of 3D printing. I'll talk about it in my next part, because this also has a whole paraphernalia to it, a whole of I can talk a lot on that. So these are the few use cases.
Thank you, Dr. Meenal. That was very informative, and I'm going to come to that 3D printing too in the next round. And I also have a couple of questions about how the AI in radiology really can disrupt the global market, or do you think there's more scope in the bigger cities in India or the smaller cities? I'm going to come back to that. But Priyanjit, please accept my apologies. I couldn't come to you before this. And Priyanjit, so I've been reading about your team and your company as well, and super impressive and super curious to understand more about it. And if you could just tell us a bit about that, and also talk a bit about home-based digital diagnosis and your idea on the same. Are there any kind of disruptions that are yet to happen? Although I think we've already seen a lot of disruptions in the diagnostics market, and I think all we want is a smooth flowing rest of the year. But happy to get your views on this.
Sure, thanks a lot. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
So thanks a lot. It's I think I'm the youngest, so I have the highest scope of learning from this panel. A bit about our company and background. Finished my IIM degree, finished my MBA in 2019, and wanted to do something in healthcare with no background in health as such, and directly jumped on it and learned through the process. So what I'll touch to is if we are talking about diagnosis and more confirmatory tests in the hospital setup, and after a patient has become aware. But if you look at India as a market, 2 out of 3 people have certain chronic conditions and they are unaware of it, right? As a market overall, we are still a more reactional, transactional in nature rather than being proactive. And some of the reasons that we have found about it is that there is a huge area where, AI can be leveraged as a screening tool in order to triage, prioritize patients having a very high chance of having the disease, and then following the journey from there. So if we look at the whole care continuum journey, I primarily divide it into three parts. One is the awareness, second is, the diagnostics and treatment, and the last part is basically the follow-up, right? Now, if we look at awareness, at a very early stage, generally, people tend to come and do certain diagnostic tests when somebody recommends them, a doctor recommends them and all. But what about the cases, where people don't want to travel or they want easy accessibility? So some of the panelists told about accessibility, explainability of AI and all. So what we are trying to create is, we are trying to create a software as a medical device platform using just the smartphone and WhatsApp, where people can, interact. It's an interactional platform where people can upload their images, get quick AI generated reports from their home, and that is how the journey would start. And it's real time. All the data is being shared real time with the hospitals and the clinics that partner with us. So currently some of the big names like Apollo clinics all across India, Dr. Agarwal's hospitals, they are our partners, and several more. And we are taking care of, we are particularly working on few interesting areas. One is the oral and dental space. Second is the eye space, and then we are looking to expand it to skin and some other areas. So what are we trying to achieve over here? So let's say that, there is a population of 1,000 people, right? And we want to leverage AI for population health screening. So we are leveraging AI particularly in triaging and creating a priority data set of people who have a very high chance of having the disease. So out of 1,000 people, we are segregating a group of 100 people who have a very high chance of having the disease, and then sharing this data real time with the hospitals and the clinics so that, they can get a care coordination real time, and the journey starts from home. So how it helps the patients in the long term is, this becomes their first touch point. So you can call it a digital health front door as well. Like we are acting as a digital health front door for, the various users. It helps them to get the awareness real time, quickly on their phone without traveling to the hospitals and the clinics. And for the hospitals and the clinics, it helps them, set a context even before the person visits their clinic or hospital. So till date, we have, more than 1 lakh people who have 1 lakh patients or users who have used our platform. In the last 6 months, we launched 6 months back, and we are really grateful for, some of the big players who have put their trust on us. Overall, what we are trying to achieve is, yes, we keep speaking of, AI, but I think Dr. Dan put out a very nice point about, AI in the lab is very cool. It's, very nice. There are a lot of research papers, but how many, how many models or how many modules are actually going out there on the field and creating real impact or creating real clinical value for the patients, right? So where we are primarily trying to work with impact as the core and the patient as the core is, help the users become aware real time from their home using just their phones. And that's the journey that we want to embark going forward and become a pioneer in this space as this sector, evolves much more in the coming years.
Thank you, Pranjit. That's very insightful, very interesting. Also, would love to connect with you offline also to understand more about this technology that your company is working on. So, Mr. Sridhar, jumping on to the next question that's addressed to you. And sir, I've always been amazed by what perceptions people have of integrated diagnosis and what is holistic medicine or in integrated medicine. Some people think that integrated diagnostics means that, okay, you have one mobile app, and on that mobile app, you can get a blood test, you have a e-pharmacy, you can get your radiology done, you have a doctor's consult. But then some people tell me that no, that is not at all what integrated diagnostics is. And integrated diagnostics is something that you were telling us in the last round. that each and every data point that is collected at every touch point that the patient visits is all compiled together and leads to a conclusion. Whereas there are different definitions, different theories. So I'd like to learn the same from you, and also what is an orchestration approach for integrated diagnosis and treatment?
Yeah, so I think you've nailed it there when you say that the integrated diagnosis has many connotations to it. But I think, as I said, the most important part is if you put the patient at the center and map that journey out for any complex kind of a treatment like oncology, the integrated diagnostics piece has to serve the complete end-to-end for the patient. So what we also do is we call this orchestration. A simple example is same oncology, where we have a lot of handoffs and a lot of touch points. So you might have the best drummer who's a surgeon, you might have a best violinist who's a radiation oncologist, but at the end of the day, what we are trying to do with this integrated diagnostics piece and the interoperability that we bring to the table is play an orchestrator, right? So we've gone to that level where if somebody is doing a lot of lung cancers today, Philips can support them with the lung cancer orchestrator. So right from the tricky part of biopsying the lung tumor, right up to the point of the genomics report, and then following up with the treatment protocols, everything will be for that particular patient tied up, right? So and on the genomic side is another major area. Everybody works on various aspects of big data and machine learning, but what we have tried to do with genomics is, because the cancer is the disease of the genome, as you all know, so is there a way that we can simplify the genomic report? If you look at a next generation sequencer today and you look at that report, it runs to 35 pages of lot of information, right? So what we have done is actually we have created a curated genomic report, very curated for that particular patient. Actually, it's like serving a dish, where we actually map the three important areas from the report, which is like active gene mutation, what is the transduction pathway for that disease, and the third is basically the tumor microenvironment. And why we have done that is because the diagnosis side finally has to help the patient on the therapy side, right? So if you look at cancer drugs today, most of the drugs fall into one of these categories. So if you can identify these three areas for that particular patient, it's like makes life much more easier for the clinician to decide what is the kind of treatment that can be provided for that. Because the next step after diagnosis, the most complicated part in cancer, is what is the treatment pathway that you have to choose, right? So we use a lot of machine learning, big data analytics, and we layered it with the AI as well. So if the diagnosis is this, that means this is the location, anatomical location of the tumor, this is the stage and grade of the disease, and this is the genomic aspect of it. What are the drugs that are available today for that patient to be treated, right? And what is the treatment pathway that the patient could go through, whether it's first surgery and then radiation, or radiation and surgery. So the paths are very clearly defined, and cancer is so personal, as you know. It's like every patient is different, right? So we need to have complete information before we decide on what treatment modality or treatment pathway we choose. And that's where we bring big data analytics into the picture, where we say, if you choose this treatment path for this patient, similar patients, 5-year survival rate has been like this, 10-year survival rate has been like this, right? And this information pops out on the screen for the clinician. He doesn't need to go and check like 100 areas and 100 places, and it's not easy for them. So we've kind of not only integrated the diagnostic space, we have tried to make it more orchestratable from that standpoint, from a technology standpoint. And the third is also the primary goal of Philips was to make things simple for clinicians, and that is where the simplification of this whole process is also part of our whole integrated diagnostics approach.
Thank you, Mr. Sheeler. Very, very well explained, and I was taking mental notes, and that's very well explained. I completely agree with you. The only reason that diagnostics exists is so that we can guide management. And if there is any stone that is left or unturned in that process to assist the clinicians to take the right decision regarding management, then I think our role hasn't been done completely, or it has been futile. So completely, I agree with you. Coming to you, Dr. Ashwini. And so we've heard a lot about what also Sridhar sir was saying about how AI has played a very important role for oncology and for cancer patients. And where do you think AI-based image informatics is right now, and what is the next in this space? And also from a commercialization aspect, where do you think that we are looking at this in the next few years?
So I think Sridhar has actually captured several elements very well. And just to build on what he's shared, today I think AI properly trained software, AI software can enable very standardized, reproducible results. And therefore, it can actually deliver better patient outcomes by reducing subjectivity, reducing manual errors, minimizing operating fatigue at the pathologist level, building expert productivity, delivering scale, improving turnaround time. The software that we have developed, it can literally give the image informatics on the IHC slides in a matter of minutes, so that by the time the doctor turns around and comes for that particular data, he would actually have a report available. And the time to execute actually drops dramatically. So these are some of the benefits that will evolve on this. If we go on to the next part of the question, where is the technology today? I think the technology maturity level is pretty high. It is improving as time goes by, and it is getting optimized, because as your data lakes scale up, the properly trained software can actually become more and more precise, and that's an interesting evolution of this technology. Today, if I take my own corporation's efforts in it, what was developed with Manipal Labs is in multi-centric trials in a number of hospitals in South, and we are now actually looking at building up the use cases in North. There is a momentum which is evolving on it. It is, as a software, it's clearly aimed at a decision support system. Its market penetration is improving as a technology, and I think the promise is also going to scale up, because over a period of time, this will go beyond a particular cancer type to evolve to lung or skin or thyroid, prostate, head and neck, and therefore a lot of information can be provided to the doctor for better clinical outcomes.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwini. I completely agree with you that the huge amounts of data that we have and the clinical decision support that you are talking about is indeed somewhere that's very exciting in the years to come. And Piyush, just a follow-up question to you on what Dr. Ashwini was also mentioning. And so as a person who runs a lab, I get to hear this very, very often from people in the tech space and the digital space, is that, wow, Dr. Dang, your lab has been around for 4 decades now, and you have so much data, and you're sitting on a gold mine of data, and there's so much that can be done with this data. But as far as I'm a trained pathologist. So the first time I heard it, I actually wanted to ask the person that, sir, what do you mean? Can you explain a little bit? Now that we have you on the panel with us, I'd like to understand from you where commercial labs can use the longitudinal data of the patients that they have over so many years, and even if this data is anonymized, and then it is used for any clinical decision support systems, or can this data even be leveraged to develop data lakes that help us in increasing operational efficiency, or even for a sales module that I was seeing some time back? What are the various ways that patient data can be used? And also from a perspective of a commercial lab, is the patient's consent, how do we capture the patient's consent and also try to protect their privacy in the entire thing?
Yeah, it's a very composite, large question on data, and data has become a very important parameter. In fact, I can completely understand when you say 4 decades of practice. SRL started in 1995, and we launched email reports as early as 2000. And we were the first ones to have a centralized lab information system around the same time. And I think another 3-4 years, 2005-6, we started using barcodes. So for the last 20 years, we've been collecting a lot of digital data across the entire journey. And I can understand that a lot of traditional organizations would have this goldmine, like you said, of data, and they have it across the entire life cycle of the patient, from the sample collection to actually test outputs, demographic data, medical history, addresses, phone numbers, all of that information about a patient, and number of addresses they have changed over their lifetimes, right? And all that test data. So it is very powerful for a patient if it is thrown back to them in terms of insights, in terms of risks. It's also very powerful for a doctor to understand what's happening. It's also very powerful for even for a regulator to understand where is the trend going, what kind of health risks are we coming into, right? But at this, and for an organization like us, we're also required by law to maintain such data for a long period of time. So SRL actually does a lot of emphasis in safeguarding this data. So your question on data safety, we've been putting a lot of data security measures around it. We've invested in firewalls, data encryption. We've also made policies like nobody could access, like human eye could never access a certain data. It's only has to be machine readable, and any kind of reporting will only happen on an aggregate basis, right? So all of those things are there. And plus government has come up with so many initiatives around it. Like with the Abha ID we were talking about earlier, Ayushman Bharat program. One of the major points which we did not discuss then is that, the data is completely on consent. Like any intermediary or any provider of information or any service provider could access the data and could load the data back to the server, but only through consent. And I think that is a very powerful thing, that how do you make consent very, very instrumental in everything which you do around data. And this is almost like, how banks did CIBIL. Like everybody reports to the credit bureau, your financial status, your financial health, and then anybody can pull that information, but through your consent. I think that we are evolving to that kind of a structure. While there is so much happening on that, and there are a lot of things which you could do to safeguard it. Like you could definitely, like for example, with so many new providers now, we were talking about data aggregators have come up, service providers are there. There are marketplaces which has come up. This actually adds more pressure to data safety. And therefore, one method is to be on the extreme right side of say that, I would own up the entire space. I would invest in an SMS gateway for my own self. I would say that I would have a proprietary lab information system. I could say that I could insource my contact center, because all of these places are, the moment you're using an external gateway or the moment you're using a customer contact center which is outsourced, your data is out and it has gone to a company which you don't know, may or may not be selling it, right? So you therefore are at that risk, and you're also regulated in that sense. So how do you make sure that you either insource this or make ways that it is all done on your server, right? But this is very useful. Like the question which you asked in the first part is that how do I make this useful for me? Like you could be the watchdog on this data and don't do anything with it, but in that case you yourself not using this data to the benefit which it could have created. So I think one method is to ingest all of this data from various sources. So you have CRM data, you have data from your contact centers, you have data from your labs. You could ingest all of these different sources of data, create a data lake, and then start using it for making a very personal offer to a customer. For example, not just an offer, it could be, there's a shift which can happen from right now, which are completely annoying messages, which a lot of apps and services are providing to customers, to a stage where it could be a very meaningful alert. Or, we could also shift from saying that there's a lot of information about healthcare in general, but can I start building a one-on-one for people to say that how do you make yourself healthy? And can I build on those inputs every now and then, which is relevant for those people? Somebody who's a diabetic patient or somebody who's a hypertension patient, how do you make sure that what's relevant for them, or how a cohort's moving? Today, this person is diabetic, but that this cohort moves to that cohort in future. How do you make sure that this patient actually doesn't go through the same pain which everybody else statistically has gone through, right? And therefore, could you also provide a doctor decisioning system, support system, which is giving them trends at a statistical overall level of what's happening in your area, in your region, and which test at what symptoms, at what stage is giving a conclusive results, whereas which are not giving, and giving them trends of, say, for example, an infectious condition like COVID, even for not your region, some other region where it is spread, or any other area where it is spread, you could borrow insights from there and say that, okay, in that region, this is what happened. And this is a completely new condition. To a doctor, that could be very useful. So I think those are some of the advantages. Of course, it's easier said than done. And but the first step is you collect all those data sources, put them in one place, invest in an AI or an ML based technology, create a data lake, and then start. And of course, before doing that, just build all of those invest in a firewall, so that once you build this data, this is not taken away by someone. So you just are able to safeguard it, but also utilize that information for the benefit of people.
Thank you, Piyush. Very, very comprehensive and well explained as well. My compliments. So, Dr. Meenal, quickly coming to you, in the last round, you had started to talk about 3D printing and what use cases there are with that. Also, with AI in radiology, I do understand that currently AI in radiology is probably leaps and bounds ahead of ahead of AI in pathology, and obviously we hope to catch up in the near future. But otherwise, also when I look at the AI applications in radiology, I look at the global market where there is a significant shortage of radiologists in hospitals, etc. I think a major market for any AI radiology platform that is there in India today. Also, what I feel is that increasing accessibility, like you had said in the last round, is key, because in a tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 city, or in a rural area, you won't have the radiologist there. So to triage the same X-rays or the same scans and then only see the critical ones first, I think are key. So if you could tell us your views on the latter, and also a little bit about the 3D printing part that you had started in the previous round.
So 3D printing has come up recently, and it has taken up so well that RSNA this time dedicated a full, like a segment to 3D printing in healthcare. So basically, what we do is, with the help of the images, we make the real models of the patient. So it is like a bespoke patient pelvis, And then if we see that there is a tumor involving the pelvis, but it also has neurovascular bundle just besides it. So what we can do is that so there are various applications of 3D printing. We can show it to the patient. See, look here, there is the pathology. Then we can give the same print to the surgeon, and we can ask him to, make bespoke screws and implants, so that patient does not carry the risk of any neurovascular damages during the surgery, lesser complications. They can even practice the surgery on that model. So in Akash Healthcare, we did that. We had a patient of a huge eyelet bone tumor, and there was this sciatic nerve which was just opposed to the tumor, and the surgeons made this jigs and screws personalized to that patient, and they trained themselves well before the surgery, so that the surgery took very, very minimal time. There was minimal blood loss, minimal risk. So that is the kind of 3D printing. That is the kind of technology which has come up, which is so much patient centric, so much surgeon oriented, and it is not virtual like radiology. When you ask a surgeon that it is so clear, why can't you see? Like, the gap between radiologist and surgeon is this. Look here, we are showing you. But the surgeon says, no, show me 3D. Show me, turn it upside down, turn it right, left. So now with 3D printing, we are giving him a toy. See, look, feel, and do your surgery. So, likewise, the patient satisfaction has gone up tremendously, because they see what is actually wrong in their body. So 3D print, and we are making screws and implants basis that 3D print. So this was in short about 3D printing, and the application in oncology is huge. Like, we have done a few cases at Akash Healthcare as well. Coming to the latter part of the question, you said that how AI is helping globally in radiology practices. So as I said, one of my co-speaker addressed the clinical decision support system. So one of the major gaps we also feel in our radiology practices when a low value imaging is available, for example, bone tumor. What is best for bone tumor management? It's X-ray and not MRI. MRI is the next step, but this doesn't go well with the surgeon because they feel, oh, tumor, let's go to MRI. So, that is the kind of value which AI and clinical decision support system adds to the patient management. It cuts down cost, it brings in accuracy, it brings in precision. So, this is one of the small role of AI wanted to say. Then again, another one application of AI which is coming up in radiology is radiomics, just like genomics. We have these texture analysis available with the AI, and we can even guess up to the molecular level that what is the kind of tissue we are dealing with. So there are various parameters, semantic and agnostic parameters, basis which we can, go into the depth of the tissue diagnosis on radiology. How cool is that? So I hope I answered your question, like the global scope of artificial intelligence in radiology.
Yes. Great. Thank you, Dr. Meenal. That was very helpful. And Priyanji, quickly coming to you, and still super curious to know about you had mentioned some breakthrough work in the AI segment, especially in dentistry and also in ophthalmology, and how you're translating this into diagnostics as well. And what do you feel, Priyanjit, that care starting from home or the entire journey of the patient, how is that changing? And also, more interestingly, do elaborate upon this technology that is image based that you are going to use in diagnostics. Would love to understand about that.
Absolutely. Thanks. I'll probably give an example which is best suited. So, for example, let's say that I'm a young person, late 20s, early 30s, and I have my father or mother, or let's say grandfather, who is early 60s or late 60s, and he's having a vision problem. He doesn't know the terminologies, what's exactly the problem, but he's just having a blurry vision. Now, the next step, which is currently now, is the person would delay going to the doctor and sort of, trying to see what's the problem. And sometimes, that goes on for a few months. It could be a few years also, right? Now, imagine a way by which you can, take, let's say, the image of the person through WhatsApp, through just your phone, and get a quick screening done that, this eye may have this problem, this eye may have this problem, particularly towards certain diseases. So I'm talking of cataract disease over here, right, which is one of the leading causes of blindness, right? So these are the small insights which sort of, helps the person now become aware. And imagine it in this way that this is the eye of the patient data, and this is real time shared with the ophthalmologist in the hospital. And within 5 minutes, you are having a feedback that, sir, there is a high possibility that, you may have this disease, right? So now the whole game changes. So if we are talking of the kind of reach, right, the kind of reach that we can do, because we are talking of just these smartphones and enabling it over just the phone, right? So what happens is, there is a lot of visual parameters which generally doctors would see, right, through which we can get a lot of parameters through which we can, do early screening, be it skin, be it for, for example, precancerous lesions in the mouth for screening for oral cancer, right? So there are a lot of visual indicators which is possible to see, and the phones are becoming smarter and smarter, right? The kind of cameras the phones are having, it's all becoming more and more smarter. So what we are seeing, how the whole ecosystem is changing. So just to give you a quick data point, so we are seeing almost 20 to 30% of the people who are doing an AI-based screening follow up booking an appointment, right? So that's a very high number if we look at digital screenings or from the home based. So we don't want to change we don't want to change the gold standard of doing a diagnosis. So like for example, the gold standard of doing a diagnosis through a slit lamp or doing it through an X-ray or something else, we don't want to change the gold standard, but what we want is we want to add a step before it, which is a screening test which we can enable through the phone, which either people can do it from their home, or we could have healthcare workers go home to home and do door-to-door screening. And in fact, this technology is implemented across a large chain of hospitals called Sharpsight Eye Hospitals in Delhi, and they have screened like more than 30,000 people with just about 30 folks. Because now you are not having the baggage to carry point of care devices. You are not having the issues of various electricities and other modules, because once we are talking of reach, especially in a country like India, you need simple solutions, right? You need simple solutions which can go to the last mile. So we are trying to combine imaging AI combined with the smartphones and through WhatsApp, actually through enable it through WhatsApp, making it as easy so that we can reach the last mile.
Thank you, Pranjit. That's very interesting. I wait for the same to translate into IVD diagnostics as well, and would love to understand more about it. So, Suman, I know you switch on your camera when it's time to conclude the session, but do we have a couple of minutes for like a rapid fire round, just the way Karan Johar has it on Coffee with Karan, or do we have to conclude now?
Absolutely, you have it. Absolutely, you have it.
Great. Thank you, Suman.
We will
Great.
take the advantage of being the last, the last session. So I
Absolutely.
think
I
we
think
deserve that.
Suman has been very kind. He's given us 5 more minutes. So just to sum up, I've always felt that technology actually is like changing the wheel of a moving car, especially when you're trying to implement it in your own organization. Also, someone told me that this is the decade of diagnostics and digitization, effective delivery, and diagnostics of the highest quality are the 3Ds that make up a successful diagnostic company, and especially in the years to come. But over to all of you, I'd like all of you to give perhaps a line to something that you applaud about the fraternity and the industry and the great leaps that have been taken in technology. But please do keep in mind that Suman has switched off his camera. So 20 seconds to each of you, starting with Sridhar sir, over to you, and then to Dr. Ashwini, and then the same order, please.
Yeah, so my submission is we truly believe that the integrated diagnostics piece is really add value to the patient, because the amount of money that goes away for wrong choice of treatment or not the right thing to do types can be completely corrected, and more automation into the diagnostic space is always good because of the amount of data that keeps coming out of every system that we make. So simplification, better patient care, and personalized treatment would be the 3 takeaways for integrated diagnostics for us. Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Ashwini, over to you.
Vimansa, our cloud-based AI tool for image informatics in cancer applications available today. We are moving out of multi-centric trials in South to early lab usage. If you are interested to be an early use partner, just connect with us, and let's take a discussion.
Thank you, sir. Piyush, a line from you to conclude.
Sure. So I think that the complete value chain of diagnostics could be changed. There could be a transformation in the value chain through technology, and digital can be the reason for making a shift for a diagnostic company from being a partner when you are unwell to being a partner to ensure that you're healthy and are fit, and not just for you but for your family. And I think what is also happening is that with the advent of post the pandemic, almost everything we want is at home, and so is a test. And I think therefore this is a big shift. And in terms of people's people have become very conscious about their health, and that is also very good trend. I think what digital can definitely help is to make sure that you capitalize on these consumer shifts which has happened in the last few years, and could help you, all of us, build an infrastructure which could help support patients in the best way.
Thank you, Piyush. Dr. Meenal, over to you.
Yeah, so I'll begin a line from a tertiary care hospital setup that because of the digitization and technology, it has brought radiologists and diagnostic people from the background brilliance to, forefront commanders, because now even the care team looks up to us to go to the grand rounds because we add so much value in patient management. So what we were like a background player, now we are sometimes even commanding between two different super specialty teams and linking them together. So I think this is all, the credit goes to digitization and AI. It has brought in so much precision and so much, promptness into the management of the patient. So thanks to the fraternity and looking forward to, magical times ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Meenal. Priyanjit, over to you with the last concluding remark from your side.
Great to have the last line. So, care continuum journey will start from home and it will be transformed with artificial intelligence. I think that's the line I want to end with. Thanks. Thank you.
Great, Priyanjit. And I think just to conclude, all of us, I think, are on the same page that technology is going to play a critical role in the years to come. But there is something that I think all of us mentioned in our various comments, was that all these tools and all the technology and everything that we are working on right now is only to assist the physician or with the doctor at the center of all that is being leveraged. And obviously, moving forward, there are going to be many more advancements. There are going to be newer incumbents who are going to come and disrupt the market. But I think at the end of the day, healthcare is an industry or a profession where it is built over trust and faith of many years. And it is the competence, the subject knowledge, the communication skills, and most importantly, the empathy and the trust that we develop with all our patients. Thank you, Suman. Thank you, CII. Absolute pleasure and privilege hosting this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dang, for such a lovely session. And I would also like to thank all our participants on behalf of CII for being a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Suman. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the
Dr.
panelists.
Dang. Thank you so much.
Connecting. Thank you.
SRL Diagnostics.